Chapter 1101. Lin Tian's expression changed slightly. The moment the octopus-like fierce demon stared at him, a terrifying aura pressed down. It was unknown how many times stronger it was than a half-step Emperor Realm cultivator. It immediately sent a chill down his spine. Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun naturally noticed that the octopus-like fierce demon was staring at Lin Tian. They both shrunk their necks. "Kid, why do I feel that you are a natural breed to attract hatred? This thing has only just appeared, and it has already set its sights on you." Wuxing Crocodile gritted his teeth. "I feel the same." Ling Yun glared. Lin Tian didn't have time to bicker with them. At this moment, the dragon patterns intertwined and called for Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun to increase their speed. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Their speed increased a lot as they rushed towards the depths of the Taichu Immortal Ridge. Behind them, the fierce demon roared. Dozens of tentacles smashed the sky and pressed down directly. In an instant, a violent force directly shrouded the surroundings, causing Lin Tianyi and the others' internal organs to tremble. Lin Tianyi gritted his teeth and directly propped up the reincarnation diagram. The majestic and holy light went towards the dozens of tentacles. At the same time, he stepped on the yin-yang avatar and wrapped Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun with the dragon pattern light. One step was a few hundred feet away. In his stone ring, the green remnant jade emitted an even stronger light. A scorching feeling spread and intertwined. Roar! Behind them, the fierce demon roared. Its pupils that stared at Lin Tian became even more blood-red. Dozens of tentacles pressed down together. With a swoosh, the reincarnation diagram was directly shattered. The dozens of tentacles fell, and a hurricane directly crushed down. Lin Tian felt a chill down his spine. He blasted out the Chaos Emperor Fist with all his strength. Then, he executed the yin-yang avatar to the extreme. He brought Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun a few hundred feet away in a split second, avoiding the dozens of tentacles at the last moment. "Brat, how did you provoke this thing? You're the only one it's targeting." Wuxing Crocodile was confused. Lin Tian frowned. The light and heat emitted by the broken piece of jade in the stone ring intensified. He waved his hand and took it out. Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun were both shocked. Ling Yun said, "It's glowing on its own? What's going on?" Roar! A violent roar rang out. The ferocious demon stared at this place, and the aura around his body instantly rose by more than 10 times, almost wanting to destroy this Taichu celestial ridge. Dense cracks appeared on the ground, extending out like a spider web. Is it the aura of this piece of jade that attracted it? Wuxing Crocodile's expression changed slightly. It's obvious. Lin Tiandao. In fact, he had already guessed this before, but he was not sure. At this time, when he took out the broken jade from the stone ring, the fierce demon suddenly became more violent, which was enough to prove that it was related to this broken jade. He pushed his second-level Nirvana realm cultivation to the limit, and his speed became even faster as he quickly left this place. Roar! The fierce demon roared, and its tentacles shook as it chased after Lin Tian. As the tentacles around its body trembled, the space around it trembled nonstop. Waves of destructive energy interweaved, crushing everything and pressing towards Lin Tian. Even though Lin Tian was at the second level of Nirvana realm, he still felt waves of fear. "Brat, quickly throw away that jade. If this continues, we might be swallowed alive by this monster." Ling Yun had goosebumps all over his body. "Do you think it will be useful if we throw it away now?" Lin Tiandao. He clearly felt that the fierce demon had locked onto him. At this time, even if he threw away the broken jade, it would be useless. With a rumbling sound, he circulated the Sun Heart Sutra to the limit. He wrapped Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun in divine light and rushed towards the depths, wanting to shake off this fierce demon with speed. This was because this octopus-like vicious demon was truly terrifying. It was much stronger than normal half-step emperors. With his current strength, it was impossible for him to face it head-on. At this moment, escaping as quickly as possible was the best choice. Roar! The fierce demon roared, and its tentacles were like legs, crushing the ground as it rushed towards Lin Tian. Clouds of dust and gravel were swept up, and cracks spread out at an even faster speed. It was a very frightening scene. Lin Tian brought Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun all the way to the depths of the Immortal Ridge. In the blink of an eye, they crossed more than 1,000 feet. Boom! The Taichu Immortal Ridge shook violently. In the depths, another wave of fog rushed up. The rolling black fog covered the sky and dyed everything black. Ghost howls mixed within. Lin Tian felt an even thicker spirit chi fluctuation, as if a spirit river was under the fog. What astonishing spirit chi! Brat Lin, is this the spirit chi fluctuation you mentioned before? Whooshing Crocodile was shocked. At this time, the spirit chi fluctuation from the depths had reached an astonishing density, and it also felt it. Master Ling also felt it. It's definitely the divine range. Ling Yun stared into the depths, his eyes shining. Lin Tian ignored them at this time and fled at top speed with the yin-yang avatar. This was because the aura of the fierce demon chasing from behind had become even sharper, like a destructive sea. At this time, he didn't even think of using the superior grade sacred weapon because he knew very well that even if he took it out, it would be useless. Only relying on speed to shake off the other party's huge demon body was the most effective method at the moment. Buzz! He dragged the broken jade, and the Sun Heart Sutra circulated even faster. The golden divine light surged, and his speed increased greatly. Immediately, he brought the 5 elements Crocodile and Ling Yun, and the distance between them and the fierce demon increased greatly. Brat, that's it. Speed up! Ling Yun shouted. Lin Tian didn't say anything. The golden divine light surged even more, enveloping Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun. He activated the yin-yang avatar even more shockingly, and his speed increased by a lot. Finally, he left the fierce demon behind and gradually disappeared. At this time, he didn't slow down at all. He wanted to leave the other party further behind in one breath. That octopus monster, towards that broken jade, I feel like it has seen a deeply hated enemy. Whooshing Crocodile said. Master Ling also feels the same, but why? Shouldn't this piece of broken jade be something that the Emperor had once worn close to his body? Why does the octopus bear a grudge against it like a mortal enemy? What's going on? Ling Yun was very curious. Then, the man and the crocodile both looked at Lin Tian. Meeting their gazes, Lin Tian Dao said, God knows. In his hand, the broken jade was still buzzing and glowing, and there was a trace of scorching heat. Although he was puzzled and very concerned about this, he couldn't think of anything. He simply stopped thinking about it and put it back into the stone ring. Then, he stepped into the depths at an even faster speed. He wanted to rush there and obtain the divine pulse there to let the little fellow be born. Gradually, he brought Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun closer and closer to the depths. He sensed that the divine pulse level spirit chi fluctuation was getting stronger and stronger. After that, he used the yin and yang hua with his full strength at the second level of the nirvana realm. Around 2 hours later, he finally brought the 5 elements Crocodile and Ling Yun to the depths of the primordium Immortal Ridge. Looking ahead, pitch black yin chi surged up like a yin chi volcano erupting. There was a huge black abyss on the surface of the ground. It was very abrupt, and it was obvious that it had just appeared. It was difficult to see the bottom at a glance. This is Chapter 1102. The abyss was pitch black, and they couldn't see the bottom. Strands of black fog rushed up from below, making it seem cold. The entire abyss looked like a ferocious beast with its bloody mouth wide open. The intertwining aura made even Lin Tian feel apprehensive. Down here, there's a very bad feeling. Ling Yun shrunk his neck. Lin Tian stared at the abyss. Although he was a little apprehensive, his expression quickly calmed down. His eyes intertwined with strands of light as he used his powerful divine sense to scan the bottom of the abyss. How is it? Whooshing Crocodile asked. I can't see the bottom, but that spirit energy fluctuation is indeed coming from below, Lin Tian said. Rumble. Just at this moment, a shocking rumbling sound came from behind. Huge cracks extended from the distance. That octopus-like vicious beast chased after them, blood-colored dark light twining around its body. Its ferocious appearance was terrifying. Roars! It let out a violent roar, its eyes filled with cold light and hostility as it stared straight at Lin Tian. Damn it, this bastard is catching up again. Ling Yun ground his teeth. This demon's aura was a little terrifying, comparable to a pseudo-emperor. Even if they worked together, they were far from being its match. Lin Tian looked back at the abyss in front of him. Let's go down. After saying this, he didn't hesitate and directly jumped down. At this moment, the ferocious demon had chased after them, and there was no way out. Most importantly, he could feel that the spiritual chi fluctuation of the divine vein level was coming from below. If he wanted to find it, he naturally had to go down. Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun saw Lin Tian jump down. At this time, they naturally didn't hesitate and also jumped down. With a whoosh, as the two people and the crocodile jumped into the abyss, cold astral winds came from both sides. It was mixed with a sinister aura, causing one's body to involuntarily feel cold. Woo! The screams of malicious ghosts came from below. As the group of people descended, malicious ghosts rushed up with malevolent faces. There were more than 10 ferocious ghosts, and none of them were weak. Their bodies were shrouded in a shocking aura of death. They were like envoys from hell, and they pounced directly toward the two people and the crocodile. Lin Tian's expression was calm as he waved his right hand. Suddenly, a large amount of golden sword light surrounded him and slashed downwards with a resounding clang. For a moment, the sound of chi-chi-chi rang out as the dozen or so ferocious ghosts that were charging towards the two humans and one crocodile were all chopped into pieces. This was just a small interlude. The two people and the crocodile did not care and continued to fall to the bottom of the abyss. Boom! A bone-chilling demonic chi came from above, bringing with it a strong gust of wind, causing the group to tremble. It's that octopus monster. Damn it actually followed us and jumped down here. Ling Yun looked at Lin Tian and couldn't help but roll his eyes. Speaking of which, little Lin, why is that piece of green jade that you picked up so important to that monster? Why don't we just throw it away? No matter how I look at it, that thing is a big problem. We won't throw it away. Moreover, I've already said that it's useless to throw it away now. It has already set its sights on us. Lin Tiandao subconsciously felt that the piece of green jade would be useful. He scanned the area above with his divine thoughts and clearly sensed that the quasi-emperor level ferocious demon was approaching. However, he did not show any signs of fear. Since he had rushed all the way here, he had already discovered that although the ferocious demon's strength was terrifying and he was no match for it, in terms of speed, the other party was not very good. He could completely shake it off with his speed. Speed up a little, he said to the Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun. Immediately, the group increased their speed at the same time. The strong winds on both sides whistled as they reached the bottom of the abyss in a short while. As far as the eye could see, the bottom of the abyss was extremely large. The air was intertwined with a pitch-black fog, and the soil was slightly damp. Even a simple step would leave footprints on the ground. Roar! The roar of the demonic beast came from above and was very ear-piercing. The octopus-like monster was approaching. Let's go, Lin Tiandao said. Using the dragon burial scripture and his divine thoughts, he quickly found the source. It was located in the western part of the abyss. He called out to the Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun as they rushed towards it. The air in the abyss was extremely cold. However, it was nothing to the two of them and the crocodile. After all, the weakest among them was at the half-step to nirvana stage. This level of cold aura would not affect them much. Moo! A sound similar to that of a cow rang out. A ferocious demon charged out from the ground in front of them. Its entire body was dripping with black blood, as if it had emerged from a pool of blood. It extended its huge, rotting claws and clawed at the group. Lin Tiandao walked at the front. His expression did not change at all. He raised his right hand slightly and intertwined a golden finger glow. With a pop, the demon that charged out was instantly smashed into pieces. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Wisps of deathly aura filled the air. As Lin Tiandao and the rest advanced, more and more demons charged out. All of them were shrouded in a terrifying, deathly aura. They were like a group of soldiers from hell. The moment they appeared, they pounced on Lin Tiandao and the rest. There are so many demons. Ling Yun gritted his teeth. The deathly aura below is so dense. It would be abnormal if there weren't many demons. Wuxing Crocodile said. Lin Tiandao did not say anything. Streaks of golden sword aura appeared beside him and spread out in all directions like a hurricane. Pop, 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 pop. Every demon that came near was smashed into pieces by his sword aura. Now that he was at the second heaven of Nirvana realm, ordinary demons and ghosts could not stop him at all. His speed was quite fast. Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun followed behind him, cutting down one demon after another. Not long after, a bronze palace appeared in front of them. It was lying on the ground. The entire palace looked very dilapidated. Waves of terrifying, deathly aura overflowed from inside and then rushed into the sky. That level of deathly aura really looked like it came from hell. The deathly aura that was spurting out just now rushed out from this bronze palace. This palace, who left it behind? Is it really the tomb of an emperor that was recorded in some unofficial history? Ling Yun was shocked. At the same time, his eyes lit up. If it was really an emperor's tomb, the collection inside would be very rich. Maybe they could find a complete heavenly treasure. Lin Tiandao stared at the palace. His eyes were intertwined with light. Once again, he felt the familiar spiritual energy fluctuation. It was stronger than ever before. It was coming from the center of the palace. Roar! The roar of a ferocious beast came from behind them. It shook the ground as the ferocious demon chased after them. Lin Tiandao glanced back and looked at the bronze palace in front of them again. He briefly told Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun that the location of the godly pulse was at the center of the bronze palace. Then he called the two of them to go towards the palace. Go, go, go! The demonic light in Wuxing Crocodile's eyes was very intense. He seemed to be slightly excited. Lin Tiandao walked at the front. In the blink of an eye, he was close to the door of the bronze palace. Then, just as he was about to reach the door of the bronze palace, layers of runes suddenly intertwined and directly shook him away with great force. This is an emperor-level Dao pattern? He steadied himself, and his expression changed slightly. In front of him, strands of Dao pattern intertwined to form a huge light shield. An extremely powerful aura surrounded the entire bronze palace. Wuxing Crocodile recognized the extraordinariness of this Dao pattern. He said, "These Dao patterns can't be destroyed unless they are emperor-level experts." Is it that sturdy? Ling Yun stared and said, "Isn't the yin qi seeping out directly from inside? Some Dao patterns prevent outside, but not inside. Ordinary people can come out from inside, but it is very difficult to enter from outside." Wuxing Crocodile said, Doesn't that mean that we can't enter?" Ling Yun opened his mouth. "This is an emperor's tomb, such a huge treasure vault, and we can only stand outside and look?" Also, didn't Lin Tiandao say that the godly pulse is at the center of the bronze palace? Doesn't this mean that we can't get the godly pulse? Wuxing Crocodile shook his head. "We can't help it. These Dao patterns were created by emperors. They're too powerful for us." Lin Tian stared ahead and frowned. It wasn't easy for him to find a godly pulse and its exact location. He rushed here, but he couldn't enter. Buzz! At this moment, the green remnant jade in his stone ring emitted an even stronger glow. It was 10 times stronger than before. An even hotter aura intertwined, causing the space in the stone ring to shake uncontrollably. It looked like it was going to shatter. Lin Tianwei was shocked. He quickly took out the remnant jade from the stone ring. Buzz! The glow on the remnant jade was even stronger, and the heat was even stronger. Even with Lin Tian's current cultivation, he could feel that his palm was boiling hot. He felt as though his palm was going to be melted by the remnant jade. He frowned slightly, and then his expression changed. This was because the Tao patterns outside the bronze palace suddenly trembled and intertwined with strands of light. They were actually resonating with the remnant jade in his hand. The Tao patterns here are resonating with the remnant jade. Could it be the person who carved this Tao pattern was the original owner of the remnant jade? Wuxing Crocodile was shocked. Lin Tian's eyes lit up. From the looks of it, it was very likely that the person who had carved the inscriptions here was the original owner of the piece of jade. This was because there was a strand of the original owner's Emperor Qi on the jade, which was why the inscriptions here had resonated with the piece of jade. This was the only explanation that made sense. If that's the case, he muttered. He held the remnant jade and pressed it against the Tao patterns in front of him. Since the person who carved the Tao patterns here was most likely the original owner of the remnant jade in his hand, and the remnant jade had a strand of the original owner's Emperor Qi, he felt that holding the remnant jade should be able to pass through these Tao patterns. There was a faint light in his eyes. He held the remnant jade and moved forward. Then his entire arm passed through the Tao patterns in front of him. It really works. His eyes lit up. Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun both widened their eyes in shock. Young man, you have great foresight. Luckily, we didn't lose it because of that octopus monster. Ling Yun was surprised and happy. This plaything is the key to opening this emperor's tomb. Chapter 1103. Originally, they thought that they wouldn't be able to enter the Bronze Palace because of the Tao patterns and obtain the Divine Meridian. They didn't expect the green jade fragment to resonate with the Tao patterns here. Therefore, they could enter, which surprised the five elements Crocodile and Ling Yun. Meanwhile, Lin Tianzi smiled. His previous feeling was right. Keeping this piece of broken jade was indeed useful. Boom! A terrifying, evil spirit came from afar. The ground shook and large cracks appeared. Looking over, the octopus-like fierce demon appeared not far away and was closing in. Immediately, the air here trembled violently, and the space in all directions rumbled. Come over. Let's go in. He called out to Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun. Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun quickly nodded. At this moment, the powerful fierce demon was closing in. They did not have time to hesitate and quickly moved to Lin Tian's side. Lin Tian held the green jade and circulated the Sun Heart Sutra. The light emitted from the green jade enveloped himself, Wuxing Crocodile, and Ling Yun. Then he took a step forward and led Wuxing and Ling Yun through the Tao pattern light screen and to the other side. Almost at the same time, the octopus-like fierce demon pounced forward, its dozens of tentacles directly whipping the Tao pattern light screen outside the Bronze Palace. Bang! A booming sound rang out as the ferocious Yao was sent flying. It tumbled for a distance of several hundred zhang before smashing into the ground, leaving a series of cracks in its wake. Even a quasi-emperor-level monster was sent flying. This Tao pattern is really terrifyingly sturdy. Ling Yun sucked in a breath of cold air as he looked at Lin Tian. He felt that Lin Tian was extremely wise not to throw away the green jade fragment because of this monster. A few hundred feet away, the fierce demon rushed forward. Its eyes were blood-red and filled with a ferocious, evil spirit. It emitted a dense blood-red mist and charged toward them again. This time, the mighty force it emitted was undoubtedly many times stronger than before, and it was terrifyingly strong. However, the outcome didn't change at all. When it approached the screen of light, it was blasted flying again, and it fell over 3 kilometers away, causing streams of blood to splatter all over the place. For this Tao pattern, the more forceful it is, the more terrifying the recoil will be. Without any special means, one can only break it with brute force. Only an emperor-level cultivator can do it. Wuxing Crocodile said. Then, he stared at the fierce demon. Oh, speaking of which, this monster seems to only have killing intent and evil spirit. Its self-awareness seems to be 0. Roar! The fierce demon roared and pounced again. Dozens of tentacles moved together and whipped the Tao pattern light screen. Then it was sent flying again. In an instant, blood splattered from its body. Lin Tian glanced at the ferocious demon. Even though his eyes were filled with murderous intent, he didn't care. He didn't even bother to think about it, because it was meaningless to think about it. "Let's go," he called out to Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun. He pushed open the bronze palace's door and took the lead, stepping into the palace. "Little perverted thief, let's go," Wuxing Crocodile said and flapped its wings to follow. Ling Yun naturally did not fall behind and also stepped into the palace. As they truly walked into the bronze palace, the two of them instantly felt a terrifying chill. It was as if the cold air had entered their bones. Their 5 viscera and 6 bowels trembled as goosebumps appeared on their skin. "Be careful," Lin Tian on Dao. From the various signs, it was very likely that an emperor-level expert was buried in this bronze palace. Moreover, it had been there for a very long time. After such a long period of time, who knew how many terrifying evil beings had been born in this palace? Even if there were half-step emperor-rank ghosts, it would be very normal. Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun nodded. Naturally, they knew what Lin Tian meant. Their expressions became cautious. This palace was very dark. There was almost no light. There was only one path that led into the depths of the palace. As the two of them and the crocodile walked, Lin Tian and Ling Yun's footsteps echoed from time to time. So, in front of them, a bloody light pounced. It was a 3-meter-tall humanoid creature. It had red eyes and sharp fangs. It carried the smell of rotting flesh. Its death aura was very terrifying. It would not take much effort to tear apart a normal enlightened realm cultivator. Lin Tian raised his hand and simply slapped. This humanoid creature was immediately smashed into pieces. Black blood splattered all over the ground. "Ugh!" A ruthless roar echoed. Another evil rushed out. It had the head of a beast and the body of a human. It had more than 10 ghostly eyes. They were all frighteningly red. Ling Yun moved. More than 10 strange swords flew out from behind him. They carried strands of Tao energy and landed on the evil's body. With a puff, this evil that was comparable to an elite enlightened realm cultivator exploded on the spot. In any case, Master Ling has reached the half-step to Nirvana realm. How dare an ordinary enlightened realm ghost rush over like this? He clicked his tongue. Lin Tian glanced at him and continued to walk into the depths of the palace. The yin qi in the palace was very strong. The yin qi was much thicker than outside. The two of them and the crocodile each held up a divine light screen and a demonic light screen to protect themselves. Their steps were slow and steady. It did not take long for them to walk more than 1,000 feet out of the palace. Roar! An ear-piercing roar rang out. A few powerful evil spirits rushed out. Their flesh and blood were rotting, giving people a very frightening feeling. Lin Tian waved his hand. Dozens of swords slashed out. They sank into the chests of the evil spirits. In the blink of an eye, they were all killed. Boom! The pitch-black yin qi of death surged out from the depths of the palace. It was like a flash flood of yin qi. Among them were pairs of blood-red eyes. More evil spirits appeared. Some were in human form, some were in beast form. Without exception, their flesh and blood were rotting. The yin qi of death was so thick that it was frightening. Among them, there were many ghost saints that were comparable to the early stage of Nirvana realm. There are 7 ghost saints? Ling Yun's eyes widened. For him now, the ghost saints were still a huge threat. Lin Tian's expression was calm. His glabella lit up slightly. The yin-yang lotus seed drew out. Pieces of black and white lotus petals floated around him. Then they whizzed forward. In an instant, the ghostly creatures mixed in, with the yin qi of death were sliced into pieces one after another. Speaking of which, should we go to the Tomb Master's room first or dig the divine pulse in the center? The Wuxing Crocodile's eyes lit up. This place, whether it was the Tomb Master's room or the divine pulse, had an incomparable attraction. Both were priceless. Lin Tian stopped and said, "Let's go first, Buzz." In his hand, the green remnant jade emitted an even more dazzling light and scorching heat. Rays of light spread out from his palm like water ripples and pointed to the front of the palace. Lin Tianwei's expression changed slightly. Looking forward, there was a ray of light in her eyes. It seems like we can only go to the Tomb Master's room first. Originally, he wanted to find the Divine Pulse first before going to the Tomb Master's room. After all, after finding the Divine Pulse, the little one could be born. Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun could enter the Nirvana realm. Their group's strength would increase greatly. At that time, it would be much safer to go to the Tomb Master's room and enter it. However, at this time, he had to change his mind, because, following the ripples of light from the Remnant Jade, he found the location of the Tomb Master's room. It was exactly the same as the location of the Divine Pulse that he sensed. It was right above the Divine Pulse. If he wanted to dig out the Divine Pulse, he had to enter the Tomb Master's room first. He had to enter the Tomb Master's room from the center of the Tomb Master's room into the Divine Pulse. He briefly explained this matter to the 5 Elements Crocodile and Ling Yun, causing the man and Crocodile to be involuntarily shocked. Then we have no choice but to go to the Tomb Master's room first, Ling Yun said. His eyes were intertwined with rays of light. Rubbing his hands back and forth, he said, "This time, we must get a flawless heavenly treasure." Little pervert, it's better that you don't have such expectations. You have to know that the materials for forging heavenly treasures are very difficult to find. Ordinary emperors do not have precious weapons like heavenly treasures. Wuxing Crocodile glanced at Ling Yun and then looked at Lin Tian. Young man, this Remnant Jade can break the Tao pattern here and let you sense the Tomb Master's room. Could it be that the Tomb Master was once the owner of this Remnant Jade? Lin Tianwei frowned slightly. After thinking for a while, she said that should be the case. The Tao pattern barrier outside the palace should have been left by the Tomb Master. The fact that the Remnant Jade could pass through the Tao pattern barrier and was surrounded by Emperor's Qi was enough to prove that the Remnant Jade was closely related to the Tomb Master. At this time, the Emperor's Qi on the Remnant Jade allowed him to sense the Tomb Master's room. There was no doubt that it once belonged to the Tomb Master. Who cares? Don't think too much. Hurry, let's go to the Tomb Master's room. Ling Yun seemed a little excited. Lin Tian glanced at him. Holding the Remnant Jade, he walked in front of the palace. "I'll lead the way. Follow me," he said. Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun naturally nodded. They followed behind Lin Tian and walked into the depths of the palace. As the group of people walked into the depths of the palace, the yin qi in the palace became denser and the air became colder. After walking for more than 100 feet, whooshing sounds were heard. With a dim light and a bloody glow, pairs of ghostly eyes lit up. An extremely frightening aura pressed down on them. Damn it, there are ghost saint-level evil creatures again. Ling Yun gritted his teeth. This is the tomb of an emperor expert. It seems to be more than 10,000 years old. It's natural for there to be ghost saint-level evil creatures. It would be strange if there weren't, Wuxing Crocodile said. Whooshing sounds were heard. Yin Qi surged as ghostly creatures rushed over. At the front, there were 9 ghost saint-level existences. Each of them was surrounded by black and red ghost Qi. Behind them, there was a group of other evil creatures. It could be said that this was a torrent of death. Even if a 5th sky of Nirvana expert came, he would be torn apart alive. Beside Lin Tian, the dense yin-yang lotus petals swayed and turned into a lotus rain. Whooshing sounds were heard as they slashed forward. Qi, qi, qi. Crisp sounds were heard. One by one, the ghostly creatures were crushed by the yin-yang lotus petals. He walked at the front and used the yin-yang lotus sea, which was specially used to restrain evil creatures, to open a path. After killing one powerful evil creature after another, he finally arrived in front of a sealed stone room after more than an hour. We're here. Chapter 1104. The door of the stone chamber wasn't big. It was covered in sand and dust, and there were no pictures on it. It looked very plain. This is the main chamber of the tomb? Ling Yun's eyes lit up. Lin Tian nodded and opened his right hand. The remnant jade in his palm emitted an even brighter light. It rippled and pointed directly at the stone chamber in front of them. "It's here," he said. Whooshing Crocodile's eyes also lit up at this moment. "Open it. Go in." The temptation of an emperor's tomb was definitely great. At the same time, there was a flawless holy pulse in the center of the tomb. The attraction was even stronger. Lin Tian raised his hand and placed it on the stone door. He suddenly felt a bone-piercing coldness. It was as if the extreme yin qi had entered his body. It made him feel a little cold. However, he was still able to withstand this level of coldness. He exerted a little force with his right hand on the stone door, and with a squeak, the stone door was pushed open. Suddenly, there was a rumbling sound. Pitch-black yin qi rushed out from behind the stone door like rolling waves. Lin Tianyi had already expected this to happen. Therefore, the moment he opened the stone door, he put up a strong divine power light screen to protect himself, Whooshing Crocodile, and Ling Yun. They were not eroded by the yin qi. True yin qi, it's really. If an ordinary Nirvana realm cultivator were to face it head-on, they would probably melt immediately. Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun were both shocked. Pitch-black yin qi continued to surge out from behind the stone door. It only weakened after dozens of breaths. "Let's go." Lin Tiandao. He walked at the front, surrounded by a golden light screen, and entered the stone chamber. Immediately, he trembled slightly. Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun were also shocked. They both felt their hearts palpitate. The group looked up and saw that the space inside the stone chamber was about 100 square meters. Dense yin qi surged in the stone chamber. The surroundings were extremely spacious. At the end of the chamber, a withered figure was sitting cross-legged. It was like an immortal demon mountain. There was a strong emperor's aura and terrifying coldness intertwined around it. Ling Yun was shocked. "This is the tomb owner?" "That's obviously it," Whooshing Crocodile said. There was a strange light in its eyes. Although it had seen more than one emperor, it was the first time it had seen an emperor's corpse. Lin Tian looked at the withered emperor's corpse in front of him. He could clearly feel how terrifying the emperor's aura. Even with his current cultivation, he could feel a chill down his spine. He couldn't help but shudder. Buzz! Suddenly, the broken jade in his hand emitted an even more shocking light. It was rich and direct, and the heat it emitted was even more intense. Instantly, Lin Tian felt an intense burning pain in his right hand that was holding the broken jade, and he almost threw it away with a tremble of his hand. At the same time, the withered emperor's corpse at the end of the stone chamber suddenly emitted an aura that was 10 times more terrifying. Gusts of wind swept out, and the yin qi in the stone chamber became even denser. It was so dense that it was somewhat terrifying. Then, 2 dim lights flashed. The withered emperor's corpse actually opened its eyes. The rolling yin qi became even denser. "It's alive?" The 5 elements Crocodile and Ling Yun turned pale with fright. Lin Tian's body also shook. At this time, he could clearly feel an extremely strong pressure. His body felt a slight pain. He looked at the withered emperor's corpse and realized that there was no sign of life on it. It was still full of death qi. When it opened its eyes, it seemed to be looking straight at him. Or rather, it was looking at the broken jade in his hand. His gaze shifted and landed on the chest of the withered figure. There was also a broken piece of jade hanging around the withered figure's neck. The gap was exactly the same as the gap on the broken piece of jade in his hand. When the two were combined, they would form a complete piece of jade. His heart jumped. Indeed, the broken jade in his hand was something that the tomb owner once owned. Moreover, it was indeed something that the tomb owner always wore. Buzz! The green broken jade in his hand emitted an even more dazzling light. At the same time, at the end of the stone chamber, the withered emperor's corpse opened its eyes. The dim light became even denser. The broken jade on its chest also emitted a shocking light, resonating with the broken jade in his hand. This, Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun were shocked. Lin Tian stared at the withered emperor's corpse in the depths of the stone chamber. He paused and asked Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun to wait. Then, He took a deep breath and walked towards the Emperor's corpse at the end of the stone chamber with the broken jade in his hand. At this moment, the withered Emperor's corpse suddenly reacted. Although it was already dead, it still opened its eyes. It was obvious that it was because of the broken jade in his hand. At this time, he subconsciously felt that he should return the broken jade in his hand to the Emperor's corpse. This should allow the Emperor's corpse to calm down. Otherwise, he felt that it might cause the Emperor's corpse to mutate. At that time, it would be really bad. If the Emperor's corpse mutated, it would definitely cause their group to die here. There was no doubt about it. "Kid, what are you doing?" Whooshing Crocodile was shocked. At this moment, the Yin-Chi in the stone room became terrifyingly dense, and the source was none other than the Emperor corpse. Not only that, the Emperor corpse opened its eyes, appearing incomparably bizarre. Lin Tian being so close to the Emperor corpse was undoubtedly an extremely dangerous matter. Ling Yun was also moved. He asked Lin Tian to stay away as he was worried that something might happen to Lin Tian. "Don't worry, it's fine," Lin Tian said with his back facing the man and Crocodile. In fact, at this time, as he approached the withered Emperor's corpse with the broken jade, the chilling and oppressive feeling disappeared. It was as if the Emperor's corpse knew that he was going to return the broken jade. As such, he walked slowly and soon arrived in front of the withered Emperor's corpse. The Emperor's corpse was sitting cross-legged with its eyes open. Although there was no sign of life, its eyes moved along with Lin Tian's movements and fell on the broken jade in Lin Tian's hand. Lin Tian took a deep breath again and stared at the broken jade in the Emperor's corpse's chest. He extended the broken jade in his hand and used the gap to close the broken jade in the Emperor's corpse's chest. Suddenly, there was a buzzing sound. The place where the two met emitted a soft sound. In the blink of an eye, they merged into one. In an instant, an even more dazzling light was emitted. It was scorching but gentle. In the blink of an eye, it dispersed all the Yin-Chi in the space. "This is..." Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun were shocked. The oppressive and cold feeling from before disappeared in an instant. At this time, they felt a trace of warmth. In front of the Emperor's corpse, Lin Tian trembled. At this moment, as the two pieces of broken jade merged, his sea of consciousness trembled slightly. Suddenly, a series of blurry images appeared in his sea of consciousness, causing his eyes to become a little hazy for a moment. He saw a little boy with a piece of green jade hanging on his chest. As he grew into a stalwart man and stepped into the Emperor realm, the green jade never left his body. When his lifespan was about to dry up, he walked into the palace located in the Taichu Immortal Ridge and used it to bury himself. In the next moment, he saw a vicious octopus-like creature rush out from the Taichu Immortal Ridge. Rolling Emperor's aura intertwined, absorbing the life aura of all living beings in all directions. Its ferocious aura was intimidating and terrifying. Then, he saw a man with a withered lifespan walk out of the palace and fight with the octopus-like creature. He pushed it into the ground and cut off its soul through its body. At that time, the green jade was also broken. In the end, he saw the man coughing up blood. After searching for a long time, he couldn't find the broken green jade. In the end, he dragged his extremely weak Emperor's body back to the stone chamber. His lifespan was extinguished like a dying flame. Then, the faint light in his eyes trembled, and they became clear again. He's been wearing it since he was young. Is this green jade a gift from his parents? He said to himself. When his lifespan was about to dry up, he fought to stop a vicious demon from harming living beings. He cut off the vicious demon's soul, and the green jade was also broken at that time. In the end, because his life aura was about to die, he couldn't find the broken jade because of the various intersecting earth veins in the Taichu Immortal Ridge. When he returned to the stone chamber in the palace, his flame of life was extinguished on the spot. As he muttered to himself, he finally understood why that octopus-like creature would go crazy when it stared at the broken jade in his hand. It turned out that it was also an Emperor realm existence back then. Its soul was cut off by the tomb owner here. Its body was still there, but its spirit was dead. Then, after so many years, under the various evil aura and demonic veins under the Taichu immortal ridge, its undecayed body turned into another kind of evil spirit. Although it didn't have consciousness, deep in its body, it still retained the hatred for the tomb owner who killed it back then. Therefore, it sensed the Emperor's aura on the broken jade in his hand and chased after him relentlessly. So that's how it is? He muttered to himself. At this moment, he could not help but feel a sliver of respect for the owner of this tomb. In a situation where his lifespan was about to dry up, he still stepped forward bravely when he saw a ferocious creature harming life and killed the Emperor-level ferocious demon. However, his already short lifespan had been drained in the blink of an eye, and he had even lost his precious green jade. His breadth of mind was truly vast. Buzz! Suddenly, the two pieces of green jade that had merged into one shone even brighter. A powerful Emperor's aura surged out and directly wrapped around Lin Tian. Lin Tian's body trembled. The Emperor's aura entered his body, causing his internal organs, meridians, and bones to vibrate. He was slightly shocked. At this time, as the Emperor's aura entered his body, his cultivation suddenly began to rise. The Great Path laws also quickly became stronger, causing the Sun Heart Sutra to involuntarily circulate, emitting an extremely blazing golden divine light. In the blink of an eye, the stone chamber was illuminated with golden light, as if a divine sun had risen here. Chapter 1105. Lin Tian's essence, energy, and spirit rapidly strengthened. The tomb owner's Emperor Qi flowed into his body from the green jade, turning into an extremely pure Tao energy that merged with his flesh, blood, and bones. This caused his cultivation to soar rapidly. This was a gift. Buzz! Outside his body, the golden divine light became denser, and the great Tao laws became more powerful, illuminating the surroundings. This surprised him, but he quickly calmed down. He sat down cross-legged on the spot and used his mind to activate the Sun Heart Sutra. He quickly refined the Emperor Qi that flowed into his body and used it to refine his flesh, blood, and bones. As he used his mind to refine the Emperor Qi that flowed into his body, his aura soared even faster. In the blink of an eye, he went from the early stage of Nirvana realm to the middle stage of Nirvana realm. Picking up this piece of broken jade is really worth it. Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun stared at him. Previously, because of the octopus-like monster, they had asked Lin Tian to throw away the broken jade. However, they did not expect the broken jade to help them enter the Emperor's palace. After it merged, it returned a wisp of Emperor Qi to Lin Tian. This kind of gift was a great divine treasure. This kid, ever since he refined that immortal stone of fortune, his luck has been unbelievably good. Wuxing Crocodile bared his teeth. The golden divine light circled around Lin Tian's body, causing the aura that Lin Tian emitted to become stronger and stronger. Wisps of aura rose as if they would never stop. At this time, he had already crossed the middle stage of Nirvana realm. Buzz! As the golden divine light danced, the air in this place buzzed slightly. Lin Tian sat cross-legged on the ground, seriously activating the Sun Heart Sutra to refine the Emperor Qi that entered his body. He looked solemn. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. On this day, the aura outside his body reached a critical point. Then, it suddenly weakened, and his body began to turn into stone. He's about to enter Nirvana realm, the second metamorphosis. Ling Yun was shocked. Lower your voice, Wuxing Crocodile said in a low voice. From now on, stop talking. Within the rebirth realm, it was an extremely dangerous process for a cultivator to undergo rebirth, and it couldn't be disturbed by the outside world. Otherwise, it was extremely likely that it would cause the rebirth to fail, and once the rebirth failed, it would basically result in the destruction of one's body and soul. At this time, Lin Tian began the second Nirvana metamorphosis. Since this stone chamber was sealed, the echo was relatively loud and could possibly create interference. In order to ensure the absolute safety of Lin Tian's Nirvana metamorphosis, it was undoubtedly best to maintain silence. Lin Tian sat cross-legged beside the emperor corpse and cultivated. Naturally, he could sense that his body was slowly petrifying. He knew that he was undergoing a new nirvana metamorphosis. He immediately calmed himself down, and his Tao heart became incomparably calm and peaceful. Gradually, his aura became weaker and weaker. More and more parts of his body began to turn to stone. From his legs to his abdomen, from his abdomen to his chest, from his chest to his head. In the blink of an eye, his entire body had turned into dark gray stone. Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun knew that this was the critical stage of nirvana metamorphosis. They didn't say a word and silently guarded by the side. For a moment, the stone chamber suddenly became incomparably quiet. Lin Tian's body turned into stone and sat cross-legged on the ground like a lifelike stone statue. His aura was like a dying candle. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Crack! On this day, a crisp sound was heard. Cracks appeared on Lin Tian's stone body and spread out like a spider web. Then a continuous cracking sound was heard. His stone body began to collapse along with the cracks. Pieces of stone fell off, revealing a new body. It's done! Wuxing Crocodile's eyes flashed with a glimmer of light. Nirvana Stage 3. Damn it, this cultivation speed is really fast. Ling Yun gritted his teeth. In front of him, Lin Tian's stone body had completely fallen off. The second nirvana metamorphosis was completed. He slowly opened his eyes. Suddenly, a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes and disappeared, temporarily illuminating the entire stone chamber. The old body had been shed and a new body had been born. At this time, his cultivation had truly entered Nirvana Stage 3. He could clearly feel that his flesh, blood, meridians, bones, sea of consciousness, and soul had been greatly strengthened. His strength had increased by a large margin again. This is Nirvana. Truly, every time you undergo Nirvana, your strength will undergo an earth-shaking change. He muttered to himself. After a pause, he smiled at Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun and stood up. However, it was also at this moment that his sea of consciousness suddenly shuddered. Vast images appeared in his sea of consciousness. His body seemed to be pulled into them. It was as if he had been placed in a boundless darkness with countless stars revolving around him. He saw a pair of eyes that were countless times larger than the stars at the top of the starry sky. They were intertwined with coldness, as if the light of time was flowing in them. They were looking down at a hazy figure in the starry sky. The hazy figure was slender, but his aura could swallow mountains and rivers. He was standing in the starry sky, but it seemed as if he was stepping on the starry sky. With a roar, he shattered countless stars. He threw a punch at the huge eyes at the top of the starry sky. He saw the starry sky begin to be destroyed. He saw the Tao begin to wither. Then, blood exploded. The eyes at the top of the starry sky were still cold as they looked down on everything. The hazy figure fell. Blood stained the starry sky and fell to the eternal unknown. Cough! Lin Tian's body shook. He coughed out a mouthful of blood on the spot. His body became extremely cold in an instant. Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun were shocked. They flashed over together. Kid, what's wrong with you? I'm fine, cough. Lin Tian shook his head and coughed out another mouthful of blood. At the same time, an intense pain came from his head. He could not help but squat down. Blood kept flowing out. You call this fine? Wuxing Crocodile glared. Did something go wrong with his cultivation? It doesn't seem like it. Even if something went wrong, it should be during the nirvana process. It can't be now. Ling Yun was also worried. Lin Tian waved his hand. He was panting slightly. He felt a sharp pain in his head. At the same time, his chest was extremely oppressed. What's going on? What is that? He gritted his teeth. This was the second time this image had appeared in his sea of consciousness. It was completely out of the blue, and every time it appeared, it would hurt his mind. Although it was not a serious injury, it made him feel extremely depressed from the bottom of his heart. He squatted on the ground and panted. He used the Sun Heart Sutra to calm himself down. After a while, he stood up again. Buzz! His sea of consciousness trembled. Suddenly, more images appeared in his mind. Just like before, his body seemed to be pulled into this image. It was as if he was there. He saw a boundless grassland. He saw a 1-meter-tall child who was driving a few goats. He was wearing patch clothes. The 1-meter-tall child, who was about 4 years old, held a small straw whip in his hand. He laughed happily as he drove the goats. However, he could not see the child's face clearly. In the blink of an eye, the image disappeared without a trace. His chest shook slightly, and an intense pain came from his head. This kind of pain was too intense and unbearable. Although it did not cause him any harm, it was extremely painful. It was as if millions of golden needles were fiercely piercing his head, causing his sea of consciousness to sway slightly. This pain was so intense that he could not help but reach out and cover half of his head to ease the pain. "Kit, what's going on with you? Don't scare me." Whooshing Crocodile glared. Having known Lin Tian for so long, it had never seen Lin Tian in such pain when he was smashed into pieces under the heavenly tribulation. However, now that he was like this, it could not help but worry. Beside him, Ling Yun also looked at Lin Tian. The worry in his eyes was very obvious. Lin Tian panted. "I'm fine." He sat down again and used the Sun Heart Sutra again, causing the golden divine light to spread all over his body in the blink of an eye. The strong divine power flowed through every corner of his body, sorting out his already chaotic mind. In the blink of an eye, a full 3 days passed. After 3 days, he calmed down, opened his eyes again, and stood up. "Are you really okay?" Whooshing Crocodile asked. It and Ling Yun had been silently waiting for 3 days. They were really worried. "I'm fine. Don't worry." Lin Tiandao. After 3 days of adjustment, although he had not forgotten the 2 images that had suddenly appeared in his spiritual sea, he had already calmed down. The intense pain in his head had already disappeared without a trace. "Are you sure you're okay?" Ling Yun frowned. Lin Tian chuckled. "Don't worry." Ling Yun looked up and down. Whooshing Crocodile was also looking at Lin Tian. "It feels weird," Ling Yun murmured, but soon he didn't care. Because at this moment, Lin Tian's breath was very stable. It really didn't seem like something was wrong. As he spoke, he glanced at the stone chamber and couldn't help but roll his eyes. "I thought I could find many treasures in this tomb master room. Unexpectedly, there is nothing." As early as Lin Tian's nirvana, he and Whooshing Crocodile carefully looked at the entire stone chamber and found that there was nothing in it except for the withered emperor corpse. Not to mention rare treasures, there was not even a coffin. "Well, I'm a little disappointed," Whooshing Crocodile couldn't help but say. In an emperor's tomb, there was nothing. It was really disappointing. Lin Tian didn't care. Moreover, because he knew some things about the tomb master through the broken jade, he had a certain level of respect for the tomb master. He smiled and said, "Don't mind it. Just treat it as us paying respects to a wise elder." As he spoke, he continued, "Moreover, isn't there a holy vein below?" Hearing him say this, Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun's eyes lit up, and they both nodded. "I'm waiting for you. Hurry up and dig out the holy vein below." Ling Yun's eyes lit up. With a flawless holy vein, he and Whooshing Crocodile could enter the Nirvana realm in a short time. Chapter 1106. Lin Tianwei nodded slightly, naturally understanding Ling Yun's urgency at this moment. "Step back a little first," he said. As soon as he finished speaking, he walked to the center of the stone chamber, glanced at the emperor corpse not far away, and slightly bowed. Immediately, the dragon patterns on the soles of his feet spread out, sinking into the ground one by one. With a crack, a hole with a diameter of about 10 meters appeared under his feet. Then, more dragon patterns emerged from the soles of his feet, sinking into the ground at an extremely fast speed. He stood quietly in place, probing with the dragon patterns, not moving at all. His expression was calm. In the blink of an eye, dozens of breaths passed. "Roar!" A loud dragon roar came from the ground, as if a real dragon had awakened. Then, a vast and extremely pure spiritual energy soared into the sky, filling the entire stone chamber in the blink of an eye. For a moment, the two people and the crocodile couldn't help but tremble. They only felt that the pores all over their body were relaxed, and their whole body was comfortable. Looking down the hole that Lin Tian had created with his dragon mark, the ground was filled with radiance and spirit light. It was like a strange world of spirit light. Vaguely, one could see a huge divine dragon coiling around, as if it was about to rush up into the sky. Divine! Divine vein! Flawless divine vein! Ling Yun's eyes lit up, and he clenched his fists, his body trembling slightly with excitement. Beside him, Wuxing Crocodile was also very excited, its eyes flashing with demonic light. After all, this is a divine vein, such a spiritual energy amalgamation. Even in this vast ninth heaven, there are at most 23 of them. Even some half-step emperors would find it difficult to find one. It can be said to be a divine treasure among divine treasures. Yeah, a cheerful voice sounded from Lin Tian's body, next to his life source. The little guy in the divine egg felt the majestic spiritual energy of the divine vein and immediately woke up, letting out a cheerful voice. Lin Tianyi smiled, and with a thought, the divine egg floated out of his body, surrounded by strands of gentle light. Yeah, the little guy issued a joyful sound from the divine egg. Although it hadn't broken out of the shell yet, it had already developed its own consciousness. It circled around Lin Tian and emitted a gentle light. It seemed to be very happy. This is that little guy? That divine egg? Ling Yun's eyes widened. This was the first time he had seen this little fellow. Yes, Lin Tian nodded. Then, he looked at the godly egg floating next to him and pointed at the godly pulse. He smiled and said, "Little guy, you've absorbed the godly pulse here. You should be able to come out now. Sorry for making you wait for so long." The divine egg trembled slightly and emitted strands of gentle light. The little fellow inside let out a squeak again. The gentle light coiled around Lin Tian's body as if it was comforting Lin Tian. Its voice was intertwined with a sense of happiness. Lin Tianyi smiled and pointed down. "Go quickly." The little guy emitted a cheerful sound from inside the divine egg again. Strands of glimmering light rippled out from the egg. Then it dived down and jumped into the divine vein underneath the tomb. Suddenly, the flawless godly pulse trembled. Rolling spiritual light gushed out of the divine egg like a tsunami, causing the patterns on the surface of the divine egg to become brighter and brighter. The light was very dazzling. "You guys go quickly too. I won't go down. I'll guard you here." Lin Tian tilted his head and said to Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun. He had just entered the third heaven of Nirvana realm. Consolidating the Taoist foundation was the most important thing. Now, there was no need to absorb more spiritual energy. The five elements crocodile and Ling Yun obviously knew what Lin Tian was thinking. They immediately nodded and jumped down one after another with excited expressions. They entered the divine vein below. Then, the man and the crocodile both operated their own ancient scriptures and drew the spiritual energy of the godly pulse into their bodies to cultivate. For a moment, two different lights intertwined. The aura of the man and the crocodile rose rapidly, forming a small vortex of spiritual energy around each of them. With a buzzing sound, the vortex wrapped around each of them. On the other side, the buzzing sound was even louder. The little guy was in the divine egg, absorbing the spiritual light of the godly pulse. It also intertwined a spiritual energy vortex, but it was more than 10 times bigger than the vortex around Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun. Buzz! On the surface of the egg, strands of complicated divine runes intertwined, becoming brighter and brighter. Lin Tian stood in the tomb and looked down. He couldn't help but chuckle. This time, the little guy would definitely be born. He stared down. The little guy in the divine egg was quickly absorbing the spiritual energy of the godly pulse. Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun were operating their own ancient scriptures. Their auras were constantly rising. Everything seemed very stable. There was nothing to worry about. For a moment, his eyes were a little hazy. Although the scene in the godly pulse was reflected in his pupils, he couldn't help but think of other things. What the hell is that? He muttered to himself. A few days ago, the scene suddenly appeared again. The pair of huge eyes and the hazy figure made it difficult for him to let go. He didn't understand why such a scene would appear in his sea of consciousness, and it wasn't the first time. Every time, it made his mind tremble. It made him feel more depressed than going through the heavenly tribulation. There was also the child driving the goat. He didn't know why, but although he couldn't see the child's appearance clearly, he vaguely felt that he was very familiar. As he thought about it, he couldn't help but feel a sharp pain in his head. His chest felt like it was being pressed down by a large stone. This made him feel irritated. He shook his head fiercely to calm himself down. Why? He clenched his fists. He didn't know what his great path order was, and he never cared about it. However, the scene in his sea of consciousness made him feel a little annoyed. He frowned and pondered, but he really couldn't understand anything. Instead, it made him feel even more depressed and irritated. Buzz! The light intertwined, dazzling and resplendent. It came from the godly pulse below. The divine patterns on the surface of the little guy's egg became even brighter and emitted a strange buzzing sound. At this time, it interrupted his thoughts. He stared at this scene, and his eyes couldn't help but become clear. Then, he took a deep breath and shook his head again. Forget it, he whispered, too lazy to think about it. In fact, if he continued to think like this, he wouldn't be able to think of anything. Instead, it would only make him feel uneasy. It wasn't a good thing. He stared down. In the godly pulse, spirit chi surged and quickly flowed into the godly egg. It flowed into the whooshing crocodile and Ling Yun's bodies, causing the aura they emitted to increase at an extremely fast speed. It was as if it would never stop. He stood above and silently protected them. Just like this, half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Boom! On this day, a shocking demonic energy swept out, as if it had set off a monstrous wave. It was very shocking. Nirvana realm. Lord Crocodile has stepped in again. Whooshing Crocodile laughed wildly. It flew out from the godly pulse. Its body was intertwined with extremely dense demonic light. Its aura was extremely powerful. The five elements Tao light lingered around it, and there was a pure and soft Tao power intertwined. The great Tao of water? Lin Tian's eyes were slightly cold. Whooshing Crocodile had previously mastered the five elements Tao. Now that it had stepped into the Nirvana realm, it seemed to have an additional great Tao of water. Whooshing Crocodile laughed. I've already said that after stepping into the Nirvana realm, you will master more great Tao. The five elements Tao is Lord Crocodile's foundation. The great Tao of water is Lord Crocodile's second great Tao. It's the same for other cultivators. When they step into the Nirvana realm, they can master a new great Tao. In the future, they will master more great Tao. As it spoke, it looked at Lin Tian and said, Of course, you are an exception. You have reached the third heaven of Nirvana realm, but you haven't mastered any other great Tao. At this time, it was very excited. After all, it had stepped into the Nirvana realm. Moreover, it was the second time. Its strength had made a qualitative leap. It was much stronger than the average early Nirvana realm cultivator. It was definitely comparable to the king body of the same level. Lin Tian glanced at it and didn't say anything. He looked down at the godly pulse. Whooshing Crocodile chuckled. Because it was the second time that it had stepped into the Nirvana realm, it only took a little time to consolidate its cultivation base and adapt to the new realm. Then, it stood up with Lin Tianyi and looked into the godly pulse under the tomb. Buzz! Buzz! In the godly pulse, Ling Yun and the little guy's godly egg were intertwined with bright light. Their auras were rising. Of course, the godly pattern on the surface of the godly egg was naturally much brighter than the light outside Ling Yun's body. The two couldn't be compared. In the blink of an eye, another 7 days had passed. On this day, a strong hurricane was produced outside of Ling Yun's body. His aura was like an erupting volcano. In the blink of an eye, it reached an extremely high point. Waves of light were produced, and there were waves of powerful great Tao principles intertwining with each other. Little Pervert has also stepped into the Nirvana realm. Cutting Great Tao and connecting Great Tao are both good Great Tao. Whooshing Crocodile squinted its eyes. Lin Tian looked down and smiled faintly. Ling Yun had stepped into the Nirvana realm. With a whoosh, he rushed out from the godly pulse and stepped beside Lin Tian and Whooshing Crocodile. Nirvana realm. He had a series of excited expressions. Although it was only a small step from the half-step Nirvana realm to the Nirvana realm, the gap between the two was huge. You have just stepped into the Nirvana realm. Consolidate it first, Lin Tian said to him. Understood, Ling Yun replied and closed his eyes. He did not sit down cross-legged. Instead, he circulated the ancient scripture to adjust his cultivation. It was not until 3 days later that he opened his eyes. The Nirvana realm aura outside of his body had stabilized, like a still spring. Lin Tian saw that he had woken up and nodded at him. Then, he looked down at the godly pulse again. There, the divine runes outside the little guy's godly egg became brighter. The spiritual chi of the 10 directions godly pulse swept over. It hasn't been born yet. Ling Yun stared down. It still needs some time. Lin Tian on Dao. He stared down quietly, silently guarding by the side. In the blink of an eye, another month had passed. On this day, the flawless godly pulse was almost depleted. The divine runes outside the little guy's godly egg were extremely bright. They began to fall off slowly, turning into rays of bright light and entering the godly egg. Boom! Immediately, an extremely shocking aura intertwined, causing the entire bronze palace to begin to shake. Chapter 1107. In the sky above the Taichu Immortal Ridge, all sorts of strange phenomena appeared one after another. The entire sky was instantly filled with divine light, causing all living beings in all directions to tremble and tremble in fear. There was a sacred aura intertwined at the top of the sky. This is... What happened? Why did it suddenly... What's going on with these strange phenomena? There were many cultivators both inside and outside the Taichu Immortal Ridge. At this moment, they all looked at the sky in shock. In the main chamber of the tomb in the Bronze Palace, buzz! In the divine pulse below the tomb, the divine patterns on the surface of the sacred egg rapidly fell off and surged into the sacred egg at an even faster speed. For a moment, the light was extremely dazzling, enveloping the entire space. It was so dazzling that it was difficult to open one's eyes. Then, strands of connate Tao patterns appeared around the sacred egg, forming an arc that enveloped the surroundings and protected the sacred egg. Rumble! The Bronze Palace shook even more violently, and cracks appeared in many places. They spread out like a spider web, as if it was about to shatter in the next moment. This, Ling Yun's eyes widened, and his heart palpitated. It hadn't even truly hatched, but it had already caused such a commotion. I'm really looking forward to it. The Whooshing Crocodile's eyes lit up. Lin Tian stared down, and wisps of light intertwined in his eyes as he carefully observed the changes in the little guy's sacred egg. As far as the eye could see, there wasn't much spiritual energy left in the divine pulse below the tomb's main chamber. It surged into the sacred egg even more violently, causing the divine patterns on the surface of the egg to fall off even faster. After falling off, they quickly entered the sacred egg. Immediately, an even more shocking aura intertwined and filled the stone chamber and the bronze palace. This caused the Een soldiers and Een spirits in the darkness within the bronze palace to tremble. Even the ghost saints, who were comparable to Nirvana-level ghost saints, trembled at this moment because of this aura. The Een chi in the entire palace instantly decreased by dozens of times. Lin Tian stood in the tomb's main chamber and stared seriously at the divine pulse below. The light in his eyes became even more intense. Buzz! Inside the divine vein, a brilliant light shone, and the space hummed. Gradually, the divine marks on the surface of the divine egg completely fell off and entered the divine egg, causing the chi emitted from the divine egg to become even more vigorous and vast. It was like a boundless starry sky. Around it, Innate Tao patterns floated up and down, surrounding the divine egg as if it was serving the supreme divine emperor. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. Crack! On this day, a crisp sound rang out. After the divine patterns fell off, a crack appeared on the surface of the jade-like divine egg, and an extremely astonishing 6-colored divine light revolved around it. In an instant, the entire bronze palace shook violently once again. Strange phenomena appeared one after another. Desolate lands, stars in the starry sky, true spirits, immortal beasts, and more appeared one after another. This is really... Whooshing Crocodile could not help but stare. Such a battle formation was truly somewhat frightening. Incredible! Ling Yun swallowed his saliva. Lin Tian stared down. Although he knew that the little guy was not ordinary, he still couldn't help but be surprised. Such a scene was indeed very shocking. Crack! Another crisp sound rang out. Then, cracking sounds rang out continuously. More and more cracks appeared on the surface of the divine egg, and the 6-colored divine light it emitted became denser and denser. After a few dozen breaths, a joyful squeak rang out. The entire divine egg broke open, and a ball of 6-colored light appeared. The strange phenomena in the surroundings immediately revolved around it, and even the path to the great Tao shook because of it. Lin Tian stared down with joy. After such a long time, the little guy finally broke out of the divine egg. Buzz! Below, the void buzzed. The 6-colored divine light intertwined at the exhausted divine vein, and then slowly dispersed. As far as the eye could see, a beautiful little guy was hanging under the tomb's main chamber. Its entire body was snow-white, and it had a pair of bright and clean wings on its back. Its 4 little furry claws, big watery eyes, and its body was surrounded by wisps of 6-colored divine light. So obedient, Lin Tian could not help but say these 2 words. Even Whooshing Crocodile stared at it. It looks good. Very cute, Ling Yun said. It had to be said that the little guy looked really cute. If some girls saw it, they would definitely go crazy. Below the tomb, the 6-colored divine light around the little guy's body was absorbed. It raised its little head and looked at Lin Tianyi and the others. Its gaze quickly fell on Lin Tian, and suddenly its eyes lit up. After letting out a cheerful squeak, the wings on its back shook, and it instantly pounced in front of Lin Tian. Squeak! Lin Tian! The little guy's voice was childish, and it rubbed against Lin Tian's cheek. The little guy already had its own consciousness when it was still in the divine egg. Naturally, it knew Lin Tian's name. Lin Tian had a light smile on his face. He reached out and touched the little guy's soft fur. You're finally out. Squeak. The little guy squinted its eyes and looked obedient. Then it turned its head to look at Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun. Its big eyes were watery, and it said in a childish voice, Rogue Crocodile Pervert. When the little guy was in the divine egg, it had heard Lin Tian's name for Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun. At this time, it also greeted them in the same way and blinked its eyes. Whooshing Crocodile. Being called a rogue crocodile by a little guy really made it feel very awkward. This little guy is so cute. Ling Yun laughed. He had never resisted being called a pervert. Lin Tian could not help but laugh. He felt that the little guy was very cute. Whooshing Crocodile curled its lips. Ling Yun stared at the little guy and said, Since it's out, give the little guy a name. Hearing him say this, Lin Tian could not help but nod. He should indeed give the little guy a name. The little guy blinked its eyes. When it heard that he was going to give it a name, its ears pricked up and it looked straight at Lin Tian. Let's call it Little White. It's simple and direct. Whooshing Crocodile said casually. Lin Tian looked at it from the corner of his eyes. Can you be more old-fashioned? The little guy nodded as if it felt the same way. Then let's call it Big White. Ling Yun said. Lin Tian was speechless. He almost couldn't help but kick him. He didn't count on these 2 guys anymore. After thinking for a while, he looked at the little guy and said, let's call it Tai Chu. How about it? In fact, he didn't know how to name it. The so-called Tai Chu was directly named after the first 2 words of the Tai Chu Immortal Ridge. However, he felt that these two words were quite extraordinary. Tai Chu, Ling Yun said, his eyes shining. It feels good? Whooshing Crocodile also nodded. Okay. Lin Tian looked at the little guy. How is it? Okay. Yeah. The little guy cried out happily. Its big eyes narrowed into two small crescent moons. It was obvious that it liked this name. Lin Tianyi smiled. Then it's decided, little Tai Chu. The little guy blinked its eyes and agreed happily. Then it shook its wings and laid on Lin Tian's head. Lin Tian smiled and swept his gaze across the stone chamber. He glanced at the emperor corpse at the end of the stone chamber and used the dragon burial scripture to restore the chamber to its original state. Only then did he open his mouth and say, "Let's go." They had obtained the divine pulse here. Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun had reached the Nirvana realm. The little guy had really been born. Their gains could be said to be huge. At this time, there was no need to stay here. Are we going to test the little guy's strength first? Ling Yun stared at the little Tai Chu. He was very concerned about this. Beside him, Whooshing Crocodile's eyes were filled with a strong demonic light. Obviously, he also wanted to know this. If we want to test it, we have to go outside. Lin Tian Dao. Oh, you're right. This place is too narrow. Ling Yun nodded. Then, he looked at the emperor corpse at the end of the stone chamber and said, "Kid, why don't we move that emperor corpse away and use it reasonably?" An emperor corpse was also a divine treasure. Don't move it. Lin Tian Dao. Through the green jade, he knew some things about the tomb owner. In his later years, he sacrificed his remaining lifespan to kill a great evil for thousands of souls. Such an ancient person needed to be respected. How could he be disrespectful to his corpse? He looked at the emperor corpse at the end of the stone chamber again. Then, he turned and walked out of the stone chamber. Ling Yun looked at him suspiciously. However, he didn't ask much. He shrugged and slowly followed him out. Whooshing Crocodile naturally wouldn't stay. In a flash, he left the stone chamber. Lin Tian walked out of the stone chamber. He waited for Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun to come out. Then he closed the stone chamber door from the outside and left. The space in the palace was a little dim. Walking in it, they could hear the footsteps of a group of people from both sides. Speaking of which, I feel that the yin qi and coldness in this palace are much weaker than when we came. Moreover, not a single ghost soldier came out to attack us. Ling Yun's expression was a little strange. It's a little strange. Whooshing Crocodile nodded. Then he seemed to think of something. He looked at the little Tai Chu on Lin Tian's head and said, "Could it be because of this little guy? Compared to when we came in, there's now this little guy." When they came in, waves of ghost soldiers attacked them. However, there wasn't any now. Now there was a little guy. In addition, before the little guy was born, even the Nirvana-level ghost sage was afraid of it. It felt that the little guy was lying on Lin Tian's head now that it was born. Perhaps the aura it emitted scared the evil in the dark. When it said that, Ling Yun couldn't help but be moved. He looked at the little guy on Lin Tian's head and felt that it was very possible. Lin Tian glanced at them and didn't say anything. He just walked forward by himself. The footsteps from both sides of the palace were still the same. Thud, 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 thud. No ghost soldiers or other evil creatures came out to attack them. Then very quickly, 15 minutes passed. They walked to the edge of the bronze palace and directly passed through the Tao patterns that enveloped the edge. They didn't encounter any obstruction at all. "We're out," Ling Yun couldn't help but say. Lin Tian didn't say anything. He walked towards the path to the bronze palace and prepared to leave the Tai Chu Immortal Ridge. Boom! Chapter 1108. The octopus-like fierce demon pounced toward them, its murderous aura surging, and its tyrannical power almost froze the surrounding space. Damn it, this monster has been guarding outside all this time. What kind of hatred does it have? Ling Yun stared. Lin Tian frowned. This fierce demon in front of him was not ordinary. Even though he had now advanced a small level and reached the third heaven of Nirvana, he was still far from being a match for this quasi-emperor level fierce demon. Its self-awareness is insufficient. Don't fight it head-on. Use your speed to dodge it, he said. Boom! In front of them, The murderous aura around the fierce demon's body became denser and more terrifying, and its speed also increased. In the blink of an eye, it had crossed a distance of more than 1,000 feet, stirring up sand and dust in the air. Its blood-red eyes were full of murderous intent as it stared at Lin Tian. However, in the next moment, this quasi-emperor-level fierce demon suddenly shuddered and came to a stop. Its gaze fell on the little Taichu on top of Lin Tian's head, as if it had seen the most terrifying thing. Its huge demon body could not help but tremble, as if it was a mouse that had seen a cat. For a moment, Lin Tian, Wuxing Crocodile, and Ling Yun were all shocked, and each of them had a strange expression on their faces. At this time, they could clearly see what the fierce demon in front of them was afraid of, because its gaze had fallen on the little Taichu. This caused the three of them and the crocodile to involuntarily look at the little fellow. This, Ling Yun's eyes widened, and Wuxing Crocodile was also shocked. A fierce demon that was comparable to a quasi-emperor-level fierce demon was actually so afraid of the little fellow that it did not dare to move at all. Even Lin Tian could not help but be shocked. Although he knew that once the little fellow was born, it would definitely be extraordinary and very powerful. He did not expect it to be so exaggerated that it could frighten a quasi-emperor-level fierce demon just by lying on top of his head. Yeah. The little fellow had obviously noticed the gazes of the three of them and the crocodile. Its big watery eyes blinked, and it looked somewhat puzzled and curious. "It's really incredible," Wuxing Crocodile said. "Amazing." Ling Yun nodded and looked at Little Rascal. "Speaking of which, what kind of beast is Little Rascal? This appearance, I don't think I've seen it before. Moreover, there are no records of such creatures in the ancient books. Strange, this little guy is so strong. There should be some description of him in ancient history." Lin Tian raised his head and looked at the little guy. Although he was curious, he didn't pay too much attention to it. The great wide world is so vast. The things that could be recorded in the ancient books are too limited. There's no need to worry about this problem. He said, "Yeah." Little Taichu called out and nodded his little head in a serious manner. Lin Tianyi smiled and looked at the fierce demon in front of him. At this time, the demon was trembling even more violently, almost curling up into a ball, staring at the little Taichu with eyes full of fear. He paused. Originally, he wanted to let the little Taichu kill the other party, but after thinking about it, he decided not to. There was no need for that. After all, killing the other party wouldn't affect him much. Moreover, this fierce demon was no longer the emperor-level fierce beast from before. It had been killed, and a new life was born in its flesh shell under the passage of time. "Let's go," he called out to Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun. At this time, the octopus-like fierce demon was trembling. He and Wuxing Crocodile walked past it, and nothing happened. On the other hand, the fierce demon felt little Taichu approaching and trembled even more violently. The fear in its eyes was even stronger. He didn't care about this. He walked steadily and then soared into the sky. Soon, he left the abyss and stepped over it. "Let's go out," he said, and then walked towards the path to come here, ready to leave the Taichu Immortal Ridge. After all, he had achieved his purpose of coming here, and there was no need to stay in this place. The Taichu Immortal Ridge was surrounded by a faint black fog. The yin qi that gushed out from the abyss floated everywhere. The air seemed a little cold, and the soil on the ground seemed a little moist. Walking on it, there would be a sizzling sound from time to time. The speed of the group wasn't fast, but it wasn't slow either. Soon, they had walked an extremely far distance and gradually saw the figures of other cultivators. There were quite a number of them, and most of them were experts. They were carefully walking towards the depths of the Taichu Immortal Ridge with a strange light in their eyes. Obviously, they were all heading towards the so-called Emperor's Tomb in the depths of the Immortal Ridge. It has been 2 months since the surging yin qi surged. These people are still walking towards the depths. They are really obsessed with the Emperor's Tomb. However, it's a pity that they are destined to gain nothing. Ling Yun muttered. They had already been to the Bronze Palace in the depths of the Emperor's Tomb. Not to mention that there were no treasures inside. Even if there were, these ordinary cultivators wouldn't be able to cross the layer of Tao pattern barrier outside the palace. Everything would be in vain. Lin Tian didn't say anything. He walked quietly at the front and slowly walked along the path towards the outside of the Taichu Immortal Ridge. That is, Lin Tian. It's that ruthless person. They came out from the depths. Some cultivators saw Lin Tian's figure. When they saw Lin Tian walk out from the depths of the Taichu Immortal Ridge, they were instantly shocked. Lin Tian didn't care at all. He didn't even look at these cultivators as he walked out of the Immortal Ridge by himself. Soon, they saw even more cultivators approaching the edge of the Taichu Immortal Ridge. Little Taichu lay on top of Lin Tian's head, looking left and right along the way. Its big eyes were filled with light, and it would babble from time to time. It seemed very happy. "You're really like a child. You're so curious about everything." Ling Yun said, "You're just a child to begin with. You've just been born." Lin Tian on Dao. With a boom, a pitch-black demonic light slashed over from afar. It was as fast as lightning and reached its peak in the blink of an eye. Lin Tian stopped in his tracks. Golden divine light appeared around his body, and a huge aura seeped out of his body, directly shattering the demonic light. "You're indeed still alive. You didn't disappoint me. If you died silently, I would be very troubled. Pure yang, yin, is not easy to find." A cold laugh sounded. Lin Tian looked up and saw a tall man standing in the distant sky. It was the young master of the Fiend God sect, the heavenly fiend puppet. "That devil bastard really pisses me off." Ling Yun bared his teeth. Lin Tian looked up at this person. "Do you really want to die?" The heavenly fiend puppet was filled with a wild aura. The demonic light around his body surged as he approached Lin Tian step by step. "Your life and the pure yang flame? I'll take it," he sneered. With a boom, the demonic light around his body became even more intense, surging like a raging wave. It was extremely terrifying. Clang, 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 clang. Numerous demonic sword lights appeared, exuding a terrifying, murderous aura. For a time, the nearby cultivators were shocked by this aura. Many people looked in this direction. The young master of the demon god sect, heavenly devil puppet, is there. That's Lin Tian. The heavenly devil puppet seems to be targeting that Lin Tian. These two are going to fight? All the cultivators were moved. Whether it is the heavenly devil puppet or Lin Tian, they are both famous figures in the ninth heaven. They are the absolute young lords of the 10 heavens. Now, these two young supreme beings were standing before their eyes, clearly about to fight. Many people were moved. "Hey!" The heavenly devil puppet laughed maniacally. In its eyes, there was only Lin Tian. Numerous devil swords appeared around its body and directly flew towards Lin Tiansha. In an instant, a large area of the void collapsed with cracking sounds, and the violent demonic might cause the nearby cultivators to feel fear in their hearts. Lin Tian's eyes were cold and emotionless. With a single thought, the sword of towering heaven appeared and bloomed with a blazing sword might. "By the way, kid, do you mind a one-on-one fight? Let him fight a group of us alone." Whooshing Crocodile narrowed its eyes and said, "I like one-on-one fights." Ling Yun laughed sinisterly. Lin Tian glanced at the man and the crocodile. "Up to you." As soon as he finished speaking, he took a step forward, and the heavenly sword chi around him slashed towards the heavenly devil puppet from all directions. The heavenly devil puppet laughed wildly, and the demonic aura intertwined with the heavenly devil puppet's murderous aura. It was even denser than before as it faced Lin Tian head-on. Rumbling sounds could be heard as the void began to tremble. More and more places began to rupture, and even the ground began to sink. Buzz! The void buzzed, and the demonic aura bloomed. A gray fog appeared, and with strands of lightning, it pressed towards the heavenly devil puppet. The 5 elements crocodile flashed over. Its first move was a great divine ability of the demon race. At the same time, a new sword chime sounded. More than 10 divine swords appeared behind Ling Yun. They were all condensed from divine power, and they were all intertwined with different colors. The sharp sword aura was not much weaker than Lin Tian's heavenly sword chi. Suddenly, the void around the heavenly devil puppet was sealed, and three different kinds of killing forces pressed towards the heavenly devil puppet. The heavenly devil puppet's face sank. You boom! The three kinds of killing lights fell majestically, shaking the sky. Among them, Lin Tian had reached the third heaven of Nirvana realm from the second heaven of Nirvana realm. His battle strength had increased greatly, and the heavenly sword chi he used was naturally stronger. Whooshing Crocodile had entered the Nirvana realm for the second time. In addition, he was a primeval beast, and his battle strength was not much weaker than those of the same level. When he used the Demon Clan's magical power, his power was naturally not to be underestimated. Ling Yun's sword Dao magical power was also very extraordinary. It was not much weaker than the heavenly sword scripture. At this moment, he used more than 10 sword lights, which was extremely powerful. As such, when the three kinds of powerful forces merged together, it was naturally extremely terrifying. It immediately crushed all the demonic swords outside the heavenly devil puppet's body and crushed all the demonic light outside his body. Group battle? Do you think I'm afraid of you? The heavenly devil puppet shouted. His eyes were ferocious, and the demonic light outside his body became even more terrifying. Nonsense, this is obviously a one-on-one battle. Whooshing Crocodile sneered. The wings on his back shook, and another Demon Clan magical power rolled out. You alone, against the three of us? Yes, this is a one-on-one battle. Ling Yun chuckled and used more killing swords to slash forward. Now that he had reached the Nirvana realm, coupled with the magical sword Dao magical power, his combat strength was naturally not bad. Lin Tian raised his hand, and dozens of divine elephants appeared. Each of them suppressed a direction and fell on the heavenly devil puppet. The three kinds of powerful forces were stronger and directly crushed all directions. Bang! Lin Tian waved his fist, and it landed on the heavenly devil puppet's face. It directly smashed half of his face, and blood splattered everywhere. Lin poof! Ling Yun's sword light arrived. Seizing the opportunity, one of the swords directly pierced through the heavenly devil puppet's chest. Come, have a taste of Master Crocodile's Great Five Elements technique. Whooshing Crocodile was the most ruthless. He directly used the Great Five Elements magical power and almost tore the heavenly devil puppet apart. Ah! The heavenly devil puppet roared. The demonic lights surged, and his face became even more ferocious. Scream, scream, even louder. However, even if you scream until your throat is broken, I don't think you can change the situation. Ling Yun chuckled, and dozens of divine swords pressed down again. The heavenly devil puppet's eyes were full of murderous intent. He stared at Ling Yun. And swoosh! Lin Tian stepped on the yin and yang liang, and dozens of divine elephants opened a path. Another punch fell, landing heavily on the heavenly devil puppet's chest. With a poof, half of the heavenly devil puppet's body exploded. He was in a sorry state. Awesome! Continue to kill him. Whooshing Crocodile laughed, and the murderous demon light unceremoniously greeted him. For a moment, the space was in chaos, and large cracks continued to spread. In the distance, many cultivators looked over, and they were all dumbfounded. They are actually ganging up on the heavenly devil puppet. They're all Nirvana realm masters. The heavenly devil puppet of the demon god sect is vomiting blood continuously. They originally thought that it would be a one-on-one battle between the heavenly devil puppet and Lin Tian, but they did not expect the scene to be like this. Chapter 1109. Within the Taichu Immortal Ridge, the heavenly devil puppet could be said to be in an extremely sorry state. It was besieged by the joint forces of Lin Tian, the five-element alligator, and Ling Yun, and it was heavily injured time and time again. Its body shattered time and time again, causing all the nearby cultivators to stare with wide eyes. Many people's hearts palpitated. The young master of the heavenly devil sect, one of the future giants of the 10 Directions' heavenly territory, was now being beaten by 2 people and a crocodile. Damn it! The heavenly devil puppet roared wildly, its demonic power surging as it roared again and again. There was no doubt that it was very powerful, but facing Lin Tian, whooshing crocodile, and Ling Yun at the same time, it seemed a little inadequate. It was completely suppressed by the 2 people and the crocodile. Boom! As it roared, its expression became even more ferocious, and it was filled with a vicious aura, as if a great demon had really appeared in the world. Lin Tianlong snorted and took a step forward. He raised the Chaos Emperor fist and directly pressed it down. Boom! For a moment, the sky trembled violently, and the void collapsed. Its power was terrifying. With a swoosh, the demonic light outside the heavenly devil puppet's body was all shattered, and it was sent flying by Lin Tian's punch. Try Lord Crocodile's 1,000 water kill. Whooshing Crocodile spoke and activated the great Tao of water, forming a large water-killing light curtain that pressed down on the heavenly devil puppet from all directions. Try Lord Ling's cutting sword slash. Ling Yun spoke and activated the sword Tao divine art with his cutting Tao, slashing out a dozen killing divine swords of different colors. The crocodile and the man laughed sinisterly. With Lin Tian as the main attacker, they kept hitting the black brick from left and right. All kinds of killing moves were mercilessly greeted the heavenly devil puppet, causing the entire area around the heavenly devil puppet to become a land of destruction. Buzz! Lin Tian waved the Chaos Emperor fist, supporting dozens of divine images that enveloped the surroundings, and the space in all directions rumbled. The 3 forces combined, and with a poof, it immediately caused the heavenly devil puppet to suffer, and half of its body directly exploded. Take his life while he's down. Boy Lin, little pervert, go! Whooshing Crocodile shouted. With a boom, it flapped the wings on its back and used the great 5 elements art again. It slashed apart a surging wave, bringing along a destructive storm that directly covered the heavenly devil puppet in the center of the storm. Ling Yun laughed sinisterly. He's here, of course. Then 49 deadly swords appeared behind him. Every single one of them was extremely dominating and violent. Lin Tian's expression was indifferent. He didn't say anything unnecessary. He directly summoned the seal of the 4 symbols and pressed forward. Scram! The heavenly demon puppet roared, and his body instantly reassembled. Then, with a clang, a black cauldron rushed out of his body. It was engraved with dense runes, and as soon as it appeared, it exuded an incomparably powerful saintly aura. This is a saint weapon. Furthermore, it's a mid-grade saint weapon, a cultivator exclaimed. Many Nirvana realm experts of the older generation did not possess a mid-grade sacred artifact. When these cultivators saw it, they were naturally shocked. As the future master of the Heavenly Devil Divine Sect, the Heavenly Devil Puppet is indeed protected by such a precious weapon. Many people were shocked. Boom! The Heavenly Devil Puppet summoned the Black Cauldron. Saintly aura surged, and demonic light surged, tearing apart the killing light released by Lin Tian and the others. The pure yang flame is mine. All of you must die. He stared at Lin Tian and the others, full of wild and domineering aura. Then, with a boom, the black cauldron he summoned became even more terrifying. The surging saintly aura directly pressed down. You think you're the only one with a saint weapon? Whooshing Crocodile sneered and directly raised a long sword. It was also a saint weapon obtained in the 8th heaven. He summoned this long sword and used the great Tao of water, slashing out a sky full of water blades. Humph! Ling Yun sneered and summoned a short dagger. It was also a flawless saint weapon obtained in the 8th heaven. For a moment, dense killing aura intertwined from the short dagger and pressed down on the black cauldron of the heavenly devil puppet. This saint weapon, they have one too. Although it's a low-grade saint weapon, the combination of the two is not much worse than a mid-grade saint weapon. Many cultivators' expressions changed. Then, in the next moment, an even more terrifying saintly aura spread. Lin Tian took out the saint murdering bow and directly pulled the bowstring. Spiritual chi rolled in from all directions, and black lightning appeared one after another. Even the phantom of a demonic dragon appeared, roaring at the sky and erupting with terrifying killing aura. After he released the bowstring, it directly rushed toward the heavenly devil puppet. Crack! 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 The space in all directions continued to collapse, and the void turbulence overflowed. This is a pinnacle high-grade saint weapon? That Lin Tian actually has such a precious weapon? Who the hell is he? What's his origin? In the distance, all the cultivators were shocked. As one of the top forces in the 10th heaven, the heavenly devil divine sect looked down on the entire 10th heaven and dominated a region. The supreme of the younger generation, the future ruler, only had a mid-grade saint weapon. However, Lin Tian actually had a top-grade high-grade saint weapon. Many people were stunned. Boom! Lin Tian used the Saint Murdering Bow, and the Saint Murdering Arrow arrived in the blink of an eye. Together with the power of the Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun's Saint Weapon, it closed in on the heavenly devil puppet in the blink of an eye. With a crack, it pierced through the heavenly devil puppet's black crow golden cauldron and sent the puppet flying. Again, his voice was indifferent. Then, without any hesitation, he directly pulled the bowstring of the Saint Murdering Bow. It was still in the shape of a full moon. In the blink of an eye, the Saint Murdering Arrow was formed, and the mighty black lightning and the phantom of the demonic dragon rushed toward the heavenly devil puppet. Before the heavenly devil puppet could stabilize its body, it met the arrow head-on. Its expression changed immediately. You puff! The Saint Murdering Arrow was as fast as lightning, and it directly pierced through the heavenly devil puppet, tearing its body into pieces and staining the sky with blood. Hey, kill! Whooshing Crocodile laughed sinisterly. It did not hold back at all. With a clang, it activated the saint-level long saber with all its strength, slashing down sharp saber lights that filled the sky. On the other side, Ling Yun was also full of energy, activating the short dagger with all his strength. At the same time, he activated the cutting Great Dao and the piercing Great Dao. Suddenly, the two destructive forces pressed down, bombarding the heavenly devil puppet before its body of flesh and blood could be formed. Puff! The bloody mist dispersed, and the heavenly devil puppet's body was directly shattered into a bloody mist. Ah! The heavenly devil puppet let out a crazy roar, and its demonic power surged. Lin Tian was expressionless. Using the high-grade Saint Murdering Bow in his hand as a sword, he slashed out a sword light that fell toward the heavenly devil puppet. Then he once again pulled the bowstring to the shape of a full moon and sacrificed his own nameless Great Dao nomological principle to gather the most powerful Great Dao killing arrow, directly locking onto the heavenly devil puppet's divine soul. He released the bowstring, and suddenly, with a whoosh, the sharp Great Dao killing arrow turned into an inextinguishable light and rushed forward. The entire space collapsed. The vast surface of the earth kept collapsing. It could be said to be a fatal arrow. This arrow, it can't be avoided. The heavenly devil puppet can't escape. The young master of the demon god sect, the future master, is going to die here? All the cultivators were horrified. Boom! The Great Dao killing arrow was extremely fierce, and its speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it was already in front of the heavenly devil puppet. However, at this moment, an incomparably fierce aura emerged from the distance. It was a middle-aged man. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the heavenly devil puppet. His demonic power was earth-shattering, and he slapped towards the Great Dao killing arrow cast by Lin Tian. Whoosh! With a crisp sound, the Great Dao killing arrow was directly shattered. This is Iluoshao, the third elder of the heavenly devil divine sect, quasi-emperor. This person actually came? In the distance, many cultivators who were watching the battle recognized the person. Obviously, the other party was very famous in the ninth heaven. Lin Tian frowned. He naturally felt the strength of the person who came. The emperor's aura on the other party was very strong, more than twice as strong as the octopus monster. Immediately, he ordered Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun to retreat, but his expression didn't change. Gulp! Behind Yi Luoshao, the third elder of the demon god sect, Tiamalai quickly reconstructed his body. In the blink of an eye, his body was reconstructed. "Young master, are you okay?" Yi Luoshao asked. Not long ago, the two gray-robed elders who had accompanied the heavenly devil puppet had died. The heavenly devil divine sect had sensed this, and because he was worried about the heavenly devil puppet's safety, he had come here. Now the heavenly devil puppet was in danger. Very bad. The heavenly devil puppet's eyes were cold, and the wildness on its body was even stronger. Yi Luoshao raised his head and looked at Lin Tian. His eyes narrowed slightly, and the faint emperor's aura surged, powerful and oppressive. He took a step forward, and the invisible emperor's aura intertwined, evolving into a terrifying wind screen as he walked towards Lin Tian. Obviously, he was going to attack Lin Tian. "Stop! He is my prey!" The heavenly devil puppet's eyes were fierce, and it was still wild and domineering. It stared straight at Lin Tiandao. "You take care of the man and crocodile with him, those two lowly ants. As for him, I will take care of him personally." Yi Luoshao nodded and stared at Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun. He stepped forward, and the faint emperor's aura intertwined like a hurricane. At the same time, the heavenly devil puppet stared at Lin Tian, and the demonic light on its body intertwined. A boundary emperor. How do we block it? That Lin Tian and his companions are in trouble. In the distance, a group of cultivators were shocked. A boundary emperor was much more terrifying than a half-step emperor. It was someone who was only a small step away from entering the Chaos Emperor realm. Lin Tian looked at the heavenly devil puppet and then at Yi Luoshao. Seeing the other party pressing towards Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun, although he could feel the terrifying emperor's aura from the other party, he wasn't afraid at all. His expression remained calm. "Heh!" Wuxing Crocodile sneered, and he was very calm. Beside him, Ling Yun was also very calm. Boom! 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 At this moment, suddenly, extremely far away, from 3 different directions, tyrannical divine power emerged. Lin Tian tilted his head and saw 3 figures appear from the east, west, and north. Emperor's aura intertwined in each direction, and their speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, they appeared here. Chapter 11:10. 3 people rushed over from 3 different directions. A total of 9 people appeared at the same time, and their gazes all fell on Lin Tian. In the east, the leader was a man in black. He was tall and slender, and his eyes were indifferent. A strong yin and yang aura intertwined around his body. In the west, the leader was also a man. His face was sharp, and his eyes were very sharp. In the north, the leader was a man in gray. He looked very young, but his eyes were very deep. His soul power was extremely strong, and there was a force of array around him. It was obvious that he cultivated array techniques and was very powerful. In these 3 positions, 2 elders stood behind each of the 3 men, and they were all exuding a faint emperor's aura. They were all boundary emperors. This is the saint of the Yin-Yang sect, the sword son of the immortal Sword Island, and the divine son of the primordial shrine. These 3, aren't they the future leaders of their respective sects? They're as strong as the heavenly demon puppet. They're all young paragons. Behind them are all boundary emperors. 6 boundary emperors. What's happening all of a sudden? Why are they all here? They seem to be looking at that Lin Tian. They're here for that Lin Tian? In this place, all the cultivators were shocked. Yi Luoshao of the heavenly demon sect looked at the 3 people and narrowed his eyes. The pitch-black demonic light around the heavenly demon puppet also swept its gaze in 3 directions. Its eyes fell on the Yin-Yang saint, the immortal sword son, and the primordial divine son with clear battle intent. In the 3 directions, the Yin-Yang saint and the other 2 paragons also noticed the heavenly demon puppet. They obviously knew about the heavenly demon puppet, and their gazes turned cold. Some were indifferent, some were sharp, and some were deep. At the same time, Lin Tian was also looking at the three people. From the discussions of the cultivators here, he already knew the identities of the three people. He glanced at the Yin-Yang Saint and the immortal Sword Sun, and then his gaze fell on the primordial Divine Sun. This side belonged to the primordial shrine. He had a grudge with this faction. Kid, they're all hostile. They're all here for you. Whooshing Crocodile narrowed his eyes. I can tell. Lin Tian was very calm. He stood where he was and stared at the Desolation Shrine Shensi and the two boundary emperors behind him with a cold smile. The desolate divine child clearly noticed Lin Tian's gaze, and so did the two quasi-emperors behind him. They both let out a cold snort, and an extremely dense divine power surrounded them. Eternal Killing Array, hand it over. The primordial divine child stared at Lin Tian. The soul power fluctuations around his body were extremely shocking, like raging waves. Eternal Killing Array? What's that? Is it the great formation he used to kill the 9 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing God dynasty? Many cultivators were puzzled by this place. Most of these cultivators were ordinary individual cultivators, or they came from other ordinary cultivation sects. Naturally, they did not know about the eternal killing formation because there was no record of it in the ancient books. The Shrine of the Ancients wants to snatch Lin Tian's. Someone whispered. His voice was very soft, and he did not finish his sentence. He was afraid that the people from the Shrine of the Ancients would hear him and cause trouble. At the same time, the heavenly demon puppet, Luo Xiao, the Yin-Yang Saint's son, and the immortal Sword Sun were all moved. Obviously, as the core figures of the 9 top forces, they had heard of the Eternal Killing Array and knew a little about it. Lin Tian glanced at the desolate divine child and smiled indifferently. Then he looked at the Yin-Yang Saint's son and the immortal Sword Sun. The desolate divine child's eyes narrowed. After he spoke, Lin Tian only glanced at him indifferently and did not respond. Instead, he looked directly at the Yin-Yang Saint's son and the immortal Sword Sun. This attitude made him very unhappy. Lin Tian saw the change in the desolate divine child's expression, but he did not care at all. His expression remained calm. He looked at the Yin-Yang Saint's son and the immortal Sword Sun and said, "What about you? Why are you looking for me?" He could feel that these people did not come with good intentions, but he did not care at all. The Yin-Yang Saint's son and the immortal Sword Sun both looked at Lin Tian. One had an indifferent expression, while the other had sharp eyes. The Yin-Yang Saint's son said, "Give the Sun Heart Sutra to my sect. In exchange, my sect will give you other treasures. Give the Sky Sword Scripture to my island. The Immortal Sword Island will also give you some treasures in exchange." The immortal Sword Sun said. Back then, Lin Tian used the Eternal Killing Array to kill the 9 half-step emperors of the Wanmi Divine Dynasty. In the process, he also used the Sun Heart Sutra and the Sky Sword Scripture, which were recognized by the experts of the Yin-Yang Saint sect and the Immortal Sword Island. One of the two sects cultivated Yin and Yang, while the other cultivated Sword Dao. The Sun Heart Sutra was the pure Yang Dao, while the Sky Sword Scripture was the Sword Dao of killing. They were both created by the 9 celestial venerables. Naturally, the two sects were interested in them, just like the desolate shrine's desire for the Eternal Killing Array. Therefore, the two sects sent experts to get the Sun Heart Sutra and the Sky Sword Scripture. When all the cultivators here heard this, their gazes descended onto Lin Tian in unison, and all of them turned pale with fright. Sun Heart Sutra? Sky Sword Scripture? He has these two celestial venerables ancient scriptures at the same time? Isn't this the supreme ancient technique created by the solar celestial venerables and the sword venerables? The cultivators were all shocked. As ordinary cultivators, they didn't know about the Eternal Killing Array because there were almost no records of it in the ancient books. However, the Sun Heart Sutra and the Sky Sword Scripture had a lot of descriptions. Hearing the Yin-Yang Saint's son and the Immortal Sword Sun's words, they were all shocked. Even the Sky Demon Split's eyes turned cold. He stared at Lin Tiandao fiercely. "You really know a lot." Lin Tiandan glanced at him coldly, then looked at the Yin Yang Saint Sun and the Immortal Sword Sun. What if I don't want to exchange? He asked. The Yin Yang Saint Sun and the Immortal Sword Sun were very calm. Their expressions didn't change much. I advise you to choose an exchange. This is beneficial to both of us. You can obtain some additional treasures, and my Yin Yang sect won't have to waste time to make a move on you. It's a win-win situation. You should know that with your strength, you won't be able to fight back against the two boundary emperors behind me. The Yin Yang Saint Sun said. Same here. The Immortal Sword Sun said. The two young paragons looked at Lin Tian calmly, as if everything was under their control. Boundary emperors? I'm really scared. Lin Tian looked at the two of them indifferently. This expression made the Yin Yang Saint Sun and the Immortal Sword Sun's faces turn dark. They were very dissatisfied with Lin Tian's attitude. Hand over the eternal killing array, and we can leave you a complete corpse. The divine son of the Desolate Shrines faction spoke. Behind him, the two boundary emperors looked at him with cold eyes. Their faction already had a deep grudge with Lin Tian. It was impossible to resolve. Hand over the pure yang flame, and then I'll kill you slowly. The heavenly demon puppet looked wild. He took a step forward. The demonic aura around his body was extremely strong and domineering. This caused all the cultivators in the area to be shocked. That Lin Tian isn't he dead meat? Someone swallowed his saliva. In this place, the Yin Yang sect and the Immortal Sword Island could spare Lin Tian's life as long as he handed over the ancient scripture. However, the Heavenly Demon sect and the Desolate Shrine wanted Lin Tian's life, no matter what. These two factions had boundary emperors here. Lin Tian couldn't possibly fight against them. On the other side, the Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun looked at the Heavenly Demon puppet, the Desolate Divine Sun, the Yin Yang Saint Sun, and the Immortal Sword Sun. They couldn't help but smile, but it was a little sinister. This bunch of idiots came out to court death. The Wuxing Crocodile bared his teeth. Heh, Ling Yun sneered. On top of Lin Tian's head, the little Taichu looked up at the Yin Yang Saint Sun and the others. Then, it lay down again. Lin Tian glanced at the Heavenly Demon puppet, the Desolate Divine Sun, the Yin Yang Saint Sun, and the Immortal Sword Sun. His expression remained calm. The Yin Yang Saint Sun and the Immortal Sword Sun's eyes fell on Lin Tian. Compared to before, their expressions were much more serious. Lin Tian's calmness made them very uncomfortable. Are you going to hand it over or not? The Immortal Sword Sun's eyes were sharp. The Yin Yang Saint Sun stared at Lin Tian. His eyes were much colder. Answer me. This is the last chance I'm giving you. Lin Tian looked at the two of them. Then, he looked at the Heavenly Demon sect and the Desolate Shrine sect. He couldn't help but smile coldly. I'm standing right here. What do you want? If you think you can get it, then come and get it yourselves. He said. His words were very calm, but they were mixed with a strong sense of indifference. He completely looked down on the Yin Yang Saint Sun and the others. Naturally, this caused the gazes of the people from the four great factions to sink. All of them were filled with coldness. Suppress him, a quasi-emperor behind the Yin Yang Saint Sun said coldly. The emperor directly intertwined. At the same time, the quasi-emperors from the Heavenly Demon sect, Ilua Shao, the two quasi-emperors from the Immortal Sword Island, and the two quasi-emperors from the Desolate Shrine all stared at Lin Tian. Their eyes were cold and merciless. Leave him to me. The Heavenly Demon puppet took another step forward. Demonic light surged around him. He stared coldly at Lin Tian and asked Luo Xiao to retreat. He was a wild and domineering man. Naturally, he was also a proud man. Previously, he had been severely injured by Lin Tian several times. He wanted to tear Lin Tian apart with his own hands. Elders, please retreat for now. Just seal the surroundings. I'm very interested in the person who controls the eternal killing formation. The Desolate Shrine sect's divine sun took a step forward. At the same time, the Yin Yang Saint Sun and the Immortal Sword Sun also took a step forward from the other two directions. They asked the quasi-emperors from their respective factions to seal the surrounding space and not move. Clearly, they were going to personally take action. Chapter 11:11. Lin Tian looked at the heavenly demon puppet, the desolate godchild, the yin-yang saint sun, and the immortal sword sun with a calm expression. You want to fight with me? He looked at the four of them. The heavenly demon puppet's eyes were wild. I told you that I would tear you apart with my own hands and take the pure yang flame from your body. I also want to take the eternal killing formation myself. The desolate godchild said. The yin-yang saint sun's body was surrounded by a faint black light. The immortal sword sun's eyes were sharp. Although he did not speak, he was looking at Lin Tian. Lin Tianhan smiled coldly and stepped forward. Very good. Come on then. The yin-yang saint sun and the others' faces darkened. Lin Tian's arrogance made them very uncomfortable. Kid, there's no need. The whooshing crocodile said. That's right. It's too much effort. Lingyan rolled his eyes. They had a little guy on their side that could even frighten quasi-emperors with one look. They felt that there was no need for Lin Tian to fight. Lin Tian shook his head with his back, facing the man and the crocodile. The four people in front of him were all young supremes of the 10 Directions celestial domain. They were from the same generation as him. Since they were destined to be enemies, he naturally wanted to fight with all four of them. He was a cultivator. He wanted to become stronger. On this path, battles were inevitable. They were things that he had to experience. Go over there and stay for a while, he said to the little Taichu above his head. The little guy responded in a childish voice. Then, it flapped its wings and flew to the side of Ling Yun and the whooshing crocodile. Well, what is that? So cute. In the distance, a female cultivator saw the little Taichu. Her eyes lit up and her cheeks blushed. Lin Tian's gaze fell on the yin-yang saint sun and the others. Come on. He walked up to the sky. Every step he took made the void tremble. Many cultivators were terrified by his powerful blood and qi. Many of them could not help but gasp. With a cold snort, the heavenly devil puppet and the other three simultaneously leaped into the air. For a moment, powerful waves of divine power surged. Demonic light, dark light, formation power, and sword will shook the heavens. This so strong, such an aura at such a young age. He is worthy of being called a young supremacy, the young paragon of the 10 Directions celestial domain. Many cultivators felt their hearts palpitate. Lin Tian stood alone in the sky. The black hair in front of his forehead danced in the wind. His gaze was calm, but it was also very sharp. Kill you. The heavenly demon puppet was the first to attack. The sky was filled with boundless demonic light, as if a demon had descended upon the world. At this moment, the aura he emitted was much stronger than before. The entire sky instantly darkened. The terrifying aura caused many cultivators in the distance to almost fall to the ground. The world seemed to be about to collapse. Lin Tian's eyes were indifferent. He clenched his right fist and punched out with the primal chaos emperor's fist. Crack! The sky was shattered by him on the spot, and the faint roar of a dragon could be heard. Kill! The heavenly demon puppet roared, and the demonic light around him grew stronger. At this moment, the two of them used powerful offensive saint techniques. They were both sent flying, and the world shook violently. Lin Tian stabilized his body in an instant. The yin and yang ho flashed, leaving afterimages behind with each step. In the blink of an eye, he approached the heavenly demon puppet and punched him in the chest. With a poof, his fist penetrated the heavenly demon puppet's chest. Dazzling blood splattered everywhere. You can't do it? Lin Tian on Dao. His fist penetrated the heavenly demon puppet's chest. The power of his fist shook, and the heavenly demon puppet's physical body shattered on the spot. Roar! The heavenly demon splitter roared, and his demonic body instantly reassembled. He performed the demonic path's great technique again, evolving the essence of the profound meaning, and pounced on Lin Tian. Lin Tian performed the primal chaos emperor's fist. Fist light filled the sky, and the entire sky was included in the fist momentum. Dong! 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 The two of them collided alone, and terrifying shockwaves were created. With a poof, Lin Tian's fist landed on the heavenly demon puppet's body again, and half of his body was shattered. However, at the same time, the heavenly demon puppet's demonic blade hand also landed on Lin Tian. It pierced through Lin Tian's chest, bringing out a large amount of blood. Lin Tian's expression was cold, and he did not care about his injuries at all. He grabbed the heavenly demon puppet's arm that had pierced through his chest and crushed it on the spot. The heavenly demon puppet roared. The demonic flames on his body pulsed, and his wounds healed instantly. Demonic light flashed in his eyes, and his ferocity was extremely terrifying. The pure yang flame is destined to be mine. He roared, and his demonic power grew stronger. Fighting one-on-one with Lin Tianyi, he was no longer as flustered as when he was besieged. His every move was filled with demonic light. Lin Tianling snorted. "You want it? Here you go." Using the Nirvana Sun technique, his wounds healed quickly, and he continued to press down with his Emperor Fist. Subsequently, at the same time, blazing pure yang flames surged out from within his body and scorched the entire sky. Instantly, it caused the group of cultivators that were watching the battle from extremely far away to feel their hearts palpitate. Even the experts of the senior generation that were strong at the initial stage of the rebirth realm trembled, as if their bodies were about to melt. Is this the legendary divine fire, pure yang flame? What would a terrifying heat! If an ordinary Nirvana realm cultivator were to take it head-on, they would definitely be burned to death. Many cultivators swallowed their saliva. Dong! Lin Tian waved his Emperor Fist, and the vast, golden, pure yang flame enveloped the heavenly demon splitter, leaving him no way out. The heavenly demon puppet roared, and all kinds of powerful killing techniques in the heavenly demon art were displayed. Demonic light covered the entire area. Rumble! Finally, with a loud bang, the void in all directions collapsed, and everything ceased to exist. With a bang, the heavenly demon puppet's figure flew out, and a mouthful of essence blood gushed out of his mouth. As his body flew out, the golden pure yang flame immediately surged up and drowned him. Ah! The heavenly demon puppet roared. Demonic light rolled, and he struggled to break free. One of his arms was burned, and he couldn't regenerate it for a while. That Lin Tian is on top. So powerful. All the cultivators were shocked. Buzz! The void buzzed, and the formation patterns intertwined. At this moment, the desolate divine child moved. Extremely powerful spiritual energy intertwined around his body, and like a rock spreading its wings, he immediately appeared beside Lin Tian. The 10-direction formation surged and pressed down mightily. In an instant, the entire void seemed to be sealed, and the dense formation patterns emitted all kinds of mysterious power. Lin Tian raised his left hand and hit with the Emperor Fist and the pure yang flame. With a bang, he was knocked back 10 feet away, and his arm went numb. Peak 8-stage array manipulator. His voice was cold. You control the eternal killing formation, so you do know a lot. You can see the depth of the formation at a glance. Not bad, not bad. The desolate divine child's eyes were deep. With a buzzing sound, even more formation runes appeared beside him. They were densely packed together, shining with multicolored light and surging soul power. In an instant, the void around Lin Tian seemed to have solidified. All kinds of killing domains intertwined, and all kinds of terrifying illusions evolved. Even the color of the sky changed. A shocking black vortex appeared, as if a heavenly tribulation was brewing. Bolts of dazzling lightning intertwined in it. There were all kinds of colors, and the momentum was shocking. When this scene appeared, many cultivators were even more frightened. This kind of killing momentum was really a little terrifying. Not bad. In terms of formation Dao, this little brat might be a little stronger than Brat Lin. Whooshing Crocodile's expression turned serious. Very powerful, Ling Yun said. Rumbling sounds could be heard as the sky was covered in formation patterns, shaking the sky. The ultimate killing formation belongs to me, the desolate divine palace. The desolate divine child said. With a rumble, all kinds of formation patterns surged. The killing light, terrifying illusions, and the vortex of lightning pressed toward Lin Tian. This was a terrifying attack. The dense formation patterns suppressed all directions. After you die, I'll burn it for you. When the desolate divine palace is destroyed, I'll burn it for the desolate divine palace. Lin Tian's voice was calm. Facing the formation patterns in the sky, he was fearless. Using the pure yang flame to protect his body, he then activated the divine One Soul spell. A wave of soul power that was not weaker than the desolate divine child surged out. As his 5 fingers danced, the dense formation patterns appeared one by one. There were sealing formation patterns, immortal thunder-killing patterns, sealing divine patterns, and illusory, mysterious patterns. Light shot into the sky. As soon as these formation patterns appeared, they collided with the formation patterns of the desolate divine child in the blink of an eye. His formation controlling technique is also so strong. He can inscribe so many killing formation patterns in an instant. Many cultivators were shocked. Further away, the 2 boundary emperors from the desolate divine palace were even more shocked. They looked at Lin Tian's inscribing technique with strange expressions. That's the long-lost 5-dragon god flash inscribing technique. He actually knows this precious technique. The 2 boundary emperors were shocked. The 5-dragon divine flash could increase the speed and precision of engraving arrays by several times. It was a top-level array technique. Even their desolate shrine didn't have anyone who knew how to engrave arrays, but Lin Tian actually knew how to do it. Boom! In front of him, dense formation runes collided with each other. Sizzling sounds rang out as the void rumbled. Then, after 10 breaths, with a bang, the desolate divine child was sent flying by Lin Tian's leg. Blood floated in the void, a little dazzling. Not enough. Not enough. Lin Tian's voice was cold. The desolate god-child's face darkened. Ever since he started cultivating, this was the first time someone had spoken to him in such a manner, saying that he was not good enough. Most importantly, the person who said this was from the same generation as him. Arrogant. He growled, and more inscriptions appeared around his body, and his momentum became stronger. He's mine! With a cold shout, the heavenly demon puppet stepped over, and the demonic light around his body became more blazing and fierce. With 2 swoosh sounds, the 2 of them closed in on Lin Tian at the same time. They surrounded Lin Tian from left and right, using all kinds of strange techniques. Lin Tian's eyes were cold, and he was not afraid at all. With pure yang flames protecting his body, he waved the Chaos Emperor fist at the heavenly demon puppet with his right hand, and the 5-dragon god flash inscribing technique at the desolate divine child with his left hand. Clang! The sword cry was ear-piercing and exceptionally tyrannical. The undying sword child moved. His body was like a heavenly sword, shaking all directions. He drew out a dazzling sword radiance that was mixed with fierceness and coldness, directly pressing towards the space between Lin Tian's brows. Chapter 11:12. The immortal swordsman and the yin-yang saint moved at the same time. Their swords were sharp, and the light of the moon was intimidating. The entire space was trembling. The immortal swordsman's sword light cut through the sky, and the yin-yang saint's black vortex devoured everything. They were both killing divine arts. None of these brats are easy to deal with. The whooshing crocodile said. Boom! The dome of heaven shook, and many cultivators almost fell from the ground. Lin Tian fought with the desolate godchild and the heavenly demon puppet. Emperor fists bombarded. The sun was like an ocean, and formation patterns surrounded him. The battle was extremely intense. Even so, everything around him was still covered by his divine sense. He did not panic at all when the immortal sword sun and the yin-yang saint's sun charged at him. His expression was cold and calm, without the slightest fluctuation. Clang! The sound of swords intertwined, and a dazzling sword light rushed out of his body. It flashed and shattered, facing the immortal swordsman. At the same time, he activated the Sun Heart Sutra to the extreme. Golden divine light flashed, and together with the divination divine art, a golden vortex was formed, facing the yin-yang saint's black vortex. In the blink of an eye, all kinds of killing lights collided. The two types of sword light exploded, and the golden and black vortexes roared, directly tearing apart the surrounding space. Spatial turbulence flowed out without any restraint. "It's indeed very powerful," the yin-yang saint said. With a buzz, his right hand was as black as ink. He slapped down with the great yin-yang hand, the divine art of the Saint Yin-yang sect. As the great yin-yang hand was formed, a huge hand appeared. The vast power of yin and yang pressed down on Lin Tian. Lin Tian's expression was indifferent, and he didn't say anything. The Sun Heart Sutra was activated to the extreme in the blink of an eye. He also slapped out, turning into a huge golden hand to support the Chaos Emperor fist. It faced the yin-yang saint's great yin-yang hand. The two palms met, creating a sky full of lightning. Divine light and hurricanes swept out in all directions. Slash! A cold voice rang out. The immortality saint stepped forward, and a divine sword appeared in his hand. It buzzed as it slashed toward Lin Tian. This was a simple slash, but the power it contained was ingenious and sharp. It was comparable to a great magical power. Lin Tian's movements were simple. He directly swung his fist. Golden divine light surged as he met the attack head-on. Clang! His fist landed on his opponent's divine sword, and a metallic sound rang out, shattering a large area of space. It was also at this time that the heavenly devil puppet leaped over, its body surging with devilish light as it punched at Lin Tian. With a boom, the sky trembled as the fist descended, as if a sacred drum of the devil race had been struck. Buzz! As the power of the matrix intertwined, dense matrix patterns appeared around the desolate divine child. At the same time, other divine lights gushed out and pressed down on Lin Tian. The yin-yang saint sun and the immortal sword sun charged forward together. Violent shockwaves surged out as the four experts attacked at the same time. That kind of power was not to be underestimated. Just a simple attack was enough to shake the surroundings, causing many cultivators to feel their hearts palpitate. They felt as if their internal organs had turned cold at this moment. Those four are actually together. For young supreme beings, the crowd of cultivators trembled. Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun stared at the sky, their eyes slightly focused. These four are all fierce characters. Can this brat fight for them at once? Ling Yun frowned. There's nothing to worry about. So what if he can't? The outcome won't change, and victory will always be on our side. Wuxing Crocodile glanced at little Taichu and said. Ling Yun relaxed his frown and chuckled. That's true. Boom! In the sky, all kinds of divine lights surged and rumbled. Devilish light, dark light, sword chi, divine fire, matrix patterns, and all kinds of powers intertwined, colliding into bolts of lightning. The desolate divine child, the heavenly devil puppet, the yin-yang saint sun, and the immortal sword sun, the four young supreme beings, were all attacking Lin Tian separately. They did not have any trace of cooperation, and they were all fighting in their own way. Each of them had the strength to suppress one side, and each of them had the qualifications to be respected among their peers. Each of their moves and attacks sent chills down the spines of many cultivators. Fuzhen, the desolate divine child, said coldly. Dense matrix patterns intertwined, turning into a square millstone that covered all directions. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. Lin Tian snorted and activated the Tianyi Soul technique. He also activated a sky full of matrix patterns, and he used the 5-dragon god flash to carve them out. The precision and power of the matrix were extremely strong, and he faced the desolate divine child head-on. At the same time, the divine light outside his body shook, and the sky full of golden flames swayed out, burning all directions. He used this pure yang flame to cover the other three people, and then he activated the heavenly sword scripture. Dense sword light appeared in an instant, and with a sonorous sound, it slashed toward the three powerful cultivators together. Boom! This was a shocking collision. The five powerful cultivators were fighting, and all kinds of killing lights intertwined, directly destroying a part of the void. This kind of collision was deadlocked for more than 10 breaths, and the power was terrifying. Then, with a bang, Lin Tian's figure was swept out. Blood flowed out of his mouth, and his body was full of cracks. Fighting 1 against 4, he was heavily injured. How is it? Outside the body of the desolate divine child, strands of matrix patterns flickered. In the other 3 directions, the heavenly demon puppet, the yin-yang saint's son, and the immortal swordsman were also surrounded by light. Lin Tian snorted, and blood-red flames leaped out. The nirvana of the sun was activated, and all his injuries were healed in the blink of an eye. The 4 of you together are only at this level. To be honest, it's not very good. At best, it can only be regarded as SOSO. He said. His voice was very calm, but it was mixed with clear sarcasm and indifference, causing the faces of the 4 to sink slightly. They were the young sovereigns of the 9th heaven, the next masters of their respective lineages, and one of the future giants of the 9th heaven. But now, a peer of the same generation evaluated them as SOSO, which made them very uncomfortable. They only felt that Lin Tian's attitude was too irksome. Self-righteous, the immortal swordsman said coldly. Lin Tian looked sideways and took a step forward. His speed suddenly increased, and he appeared in front of the immortal swordsman like lightning. His speed was so fast that it was like teleportation. The immortal swordsman was shocked and quickly retreated. Clang! The sound of the sword was ear-piercing. Lin Tian formed a sword with his right hand and slashed out the 3 moves of Lin Tian at the immortal swordsman like a thunderbolt. The distance was a bit close, and the speed of the sword itself was extremely fast. It was impossible for the immortal swordsman to dodge. Puff! Immediately, blood sputtered, and the immortal swordsman was directly penetrated. The immortal swordsman's face was pale, and his eyes were even colder. He endured the severe pain and waved the immortal sword at Lin Tian. You slap! Lin Tian's speed was even faster, and he slapped the immortal swordsman's face with the back of his hand. The immortal swordsman vomited blood and fell to the ground with a bang, creating a huge crack in the ground. Such a scene caused all the cultivators in the area to involuntarily tremble. At this moment, the powerful immortal swordsman was actually slapped by Lin Tian, and he was knocked down from the sky. In the distance, the 2 quasi-emperors of the sacred yin-yang sect had cold expressions, and their eyes were filled with intense coldness. Boom! The tyrannical sword might surged, and the ground kept crumbling. The immortal swordsman soared into the sky, and his wounds healed in the blink of an eye. His eyes became even sharper and more threatening. At this moment, his entire person seemed to have turned into a peerless killing sword, giving off an incomparably sharp and dangerous feeling. He stared at Lin Tian and said, Lin Tian. Lin Tian actually slapped him. To him, this was even more unbearable than killing him. It made his killing intent erupt like a volcano. With a clang, a group of divine palaces appeared behind him. A divine sword rushed out from each of the divine palaces. Each of the divine swords was intertwined with surging sword power. It was as if they wanted to cut this entire world into pieces. It was very frightening. This is one of the profound divine arts of the immortal sword island, the divine spirit sword imprint. An expert of the older generation couldn't help but exclaim, Clang! The sound of the swords intertwined like the roar of thunder. In the blink of an eye, 81 shrines circled behind the immortal swordsman, and a divine sword rushed out from each of them. Each sword was like an emperor, and the clanging sounds of the swords pierced through the hearts of many people, making them feel as if they were going to explode. The killing intent was terrifying. Lin Tian naturally felt the terror of this attack, and a sense of threat rose in his heart. However, his expression didn't change at all. You can't do it. You want to seize the Lin Tian sword scripture? This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. You're too far away. It's a complete mess. He looked at the immortal swordsman and said indifferently, then looked at the heavenly demon puppet, the yin-yang saint child, and the desolate ancient godchild. You guys are the same. If you don't rely on your sect and want to rob me with your own strength, it's simply a joke. With that said, he glanced at the quasi-emperors in the distance. Of course, your sects aren't good either. The top forces of the ninth heaven are all bandits, making a fool of themselves. You are destined to achieve nothing in the future. As soon as his words came out, all the cultivators in this place sucked in a cold breath. Not only did he say that the immortal swordsman and the others were not good, but he also said that the immortal sword island, the yin-yang saint child, the heavenly demon divine sect, and the desolate ancient shrine were all bandits. However, on second thought, these people felt that Lin Tian's words didn't seem to be wrong. Several great forces wanted to rob Lin Tian's things. Such a method was indeed no different from bandits. In the distance, the Immortal Sword Island and the other three great forces, as well as the 7 quasi-emperors, were all filled with killing intent. And they stared at Lin Tian in the sky. If it weren't for the presence of their own divine son and saint child, they would definitely have attacked directly. Boom, 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 boom. 4 waves of killing divine energy intertwined, shaking the sky and oppressing all directions. You're courting death. The desolate ancient divine son's voice was cold. Endless formation runes intertwined, and he took a step forward, heading straight towards Lin Tiansha. Kill! The immortal swordsman carried the god spirit sword seal, Grand Theurgy, and his eyes were sharp as he charged towards Lin Tian. At the same time, the demonic radiance was vast and mighty. Yin and Yang surged. The heavenly demon puppet and the yin-yang saint also charged toward Lin Tian. At this moment, the 4 great experts had all used their strongest killing techniques, which seemed to be able to suppress everything. Facing the 4, Lin Tianling snorted. With a buzzing sound, he directly propped up the reincarnation diagram. The divine and holy aura immediately spread in all directions, and the diameter of the diagram evolved to about 100 feet. At his will, it pressed towards the 4 at the same time. In an instant, the space in all directions collapsed. The divine power was terrifying. In the sky full of divine light, Lin Tian used the sun's nirvana technique and the Sun Heart Sutra to protect himself. With the reincarnation diagram above his head and the yin-yang saint child under his feet, he used the Chaos Emperor Fist, swung the towering Heaven Sword Scripture, and used the 4 symbols Tao diagram to fight the 4 alone. He stepped forward, and the reincarnation diagram shook, instantly crushing all the divine techniques of the 4 great experts. He landed a punch on the desolate ancient divine son's chest, directly smashing him into pieces. Clang! He swung the towering heaven-killing sword, and with a poof, half of the immortal swordsman's body was cut into pieces. Dazzling blood dyed the sky red. Then, he used the yin-yang saint child to break through the heavenly demon puppet and the yin-yang saint child. The divine elephant and the 4 symbols Tao diagram fell at the same time, sending the 2 flying, causing them to explode at the same time. It was a shocking scene. Such a scene could be said to be shocking to everyone. 1 against 4 against the desolate ancient divine son at the same time, and he actually injured all 4 of them. Is he invincible in the same generation? Someone trembled. Far away, the expressions of the boundary emperors from the yin-yang sect changed drastically. When they stared at Lin Tian, the murderous intent in their eyes became even more intense. He's indeed as perverse as before. Ling Yun swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Previously, he was still worried that Lin Tian might not be able to win against the encirclement of 4 great experts by himself. However, he never imagined that Lin Tian's combat strength would be so exaggerated, far exceeding his expectations, and actually heavily injuring the 4 of them. Ah! There was an angry roar, and the divine radiance was vast and mighty. The heavenly demon puppet and the other 3 quickly repaired their physical bodies, and their expressions turned ugly. Lin Tian looked at the 4 of them, and the reincarnation diagram appeared again with an indifferent expression. How about it? I said that you guys can't do it. His voice was calm. This caused the heavenly demon puppet and the other three's faces to turn pale, and the aura outside their bodies naturally became terrifying. At this moment, the four of them did not say anything superfluous. They activated even more powerful divine techniques and directly charged toward Lin Tiansha. Four waves of murderous intent pressed toward Lin Tian at the same time. Lin Tianling snorted, and the reincarnation diagram vibrated, pressing forward with force. At this moment, a sinister laugh rang out, bringing with it a menacing blood-red radiance that cut across the sky and slashed toward Lin Tian. It also enveloped the immortal sword sun, the heavenly demon puppet, the yin-yang saint child, and the desolate ancient divine sun, and the emperor's might intertwined. Chapter 11:13. The blood-red light appeared abruptly, and the emperor's might was extremely dense. It was so powerful that Lin Tian's expression changed immediately. He didn't have time to think. He blocked the reincarnation portrait in front of him and stepped on the yin and yang puppet to retreat. With a whoosh, the blood-red light landed on the reincarnation portrait, causing it to shatter into pieces. Cough! He coughed up blood from the impact, but he still managed to dodge the blood-red light's direct attack and retreated several hundred feet away. At the same time, the heavenly demon puppet and the other three young supreme beings were also in trouble. Although they managed to dodge the blood-red light's direct attack like Lin Tian, they were also injured. They coughed up blood one after another and were each pushed several hundred feet away. This scene caused everyone's expression to change. Someone was actually attacking Lin Tian and the other four supreme beings at the same time. Who is it? A boundary emperor from the Saint Yin-Yang sect spoke. His emperor's might intertwined as he looked in the direction of the blood-red light with an extremely cold gaze. In the distance, Sun couldn't stop laughing. It sounded a little jarring. They all managed to dodge. Unpleasant. Very unpleasant. A skinny man with a blood-red sword in his hand walked in the air like a demon. His body was surrounded by blood-red light as he walked toward them. Lin Tian tilted his head to look. His eyes immediately turned cold. He felt a very familiar aura from this skinny man. Great Destruction God Dynasty, he said coldly. The skinny man with the blood-red sword looked at Lin Tian and grinned like a beast. Hello, I am Lung Can Lung as in cold, can as in cruel. Come, let me think. He looked at Lin Tian with blood-red lights swirling around him. His words gave people a very twisted feeling. Yes, I'm here to kill you. I'm here to kill you. As he spoke, he bent over and laughed loudly. His voice was jarring, and his cheeks were distorted. He then bent over and looked at the Saint Yin-Yang sect and the others. If possible, I'd like to kill all of you as well. Just now. It's a pity. Unpleasant. 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 Very unpleasant. He bent over, and blood-red light intertwined around him. The blood-red sword in his hand swung violently, and streaks of blood-red sword light scattered into the distance, where a group of ordinary cultivators stood. In an instant, the group of ordinary cultivators were all killed. What did he do all of a sudden? In the vicinity, everyone else was horrified. The skinny man laughed loudly. His face was distorted as if he had a split personality. He swung his sword into the distance again. Ah! Miserable screams rang out in an instant. A large number of cultivators were killed, dyeing the ground red with blood. Go! Hurry up and leave! Run! The group of cultivators panicked. Each and every one of them was terrified as they frantically ran into the distance. The skinny man laughed loudly as he swung the blood sword in his hand. Sword rays mixed with faint emperor's might shot into the distance. Ah! Screams of agony and fear rang out continuously. One after another, the cultivators exploded, their bodies and souls destroyed. CK. This was truly a madman. Psychopath. His personality is twisted. Whooshing crocodile cursed. Lin Tian watched this scene and looked at the skinny man with an expressionless face. On the other side, the yin-yang saint's son and the others stared at the skinny man. Their eyes narrowed slightly as they watched silently. Die! Death! Die! The thin male laughed crazily, extremely ear-piercing. Blood-colored killing light continuously shot into the distance. Ah! In the distance, a group of cultivators fled frantically. All of them were inexplicably terrified. Blood kept splattering everywhere as people died tragically. These people had come to the Taichu Immortal Ridge to search for treasures and immortal opportunities because of the yin qi that had surged up earlier. They also happened to stop and watch the battle from afar because of the battle between Lin Tian and the others. They did not expect to encounter such an unexpected disaster at this time. The skinny man laughed maniacally and kept swinging his sword. He only stopped after dozens of breaths. At this moment, almost half of the cultivators in the distance had died. Blood dyed a large area of the ground red. The cultivators who were still alive had already fled extremely far away. All of them were trembling with fear in their eyes. The blood light outside the skinny man's body became denser. When he laughed, his cheeks trembled. It was so twisted that it was somewhat horrifying. Happy, happy. The skinny man laughed maniacally. In the distance, the group of cultivators trembled even more violently. Many of them retreated again and again, almost tens of thousands of feet away from this place. Lunatic, damn pervert. Whooshing crocodile cursed. So King disgusting. Ling Yun also cursed. Lin Tian remained expressionless as he stood quietly in the sky. On the other side, behind the heavenly devil puppet, the quasi-emperor Luoshao looked at the skinny man. There were strands of demonic light intertwining in his eyes. Lung Can, one of the humanoid weapons cultivated by the great extinguishing God dynasty 2,000 years ago. In order to improve his Tao of killing, he killed his mother and father. He stepped into the quasi-emperor realm with extreme cruelty and participated in the assassination of a Chaos Realm Emperor. The quasi-emperors from the Sacred Yin-Yang sect and the other two great forces snorted. Clearly, they knew about Lung Can. This was because his character was too twisted. His mentality and behavior were too perverse. Over these years, he had openly killed many cultivators in public. Many great forces knew that the great extinguishing God dynasty had such an assassin. Moreover, they were very wary of him. This was because he was very strong. As a humanoid weapon cultivated by the great extinguishing God dynasty, he was an existence that killed for the sake of killing. He was much stronger than ordinary quasi-emperors. He was said to be invincible under the emperor realm. Lin Tian's gaze fell on the skinny man. His eyes darkened slightly. Strands of cold light intertwined in his eyes. He could not help but clench his fists. In order to become stronger, he killed his mother and father. In this world, there was no one more evil than this. No, this could not be called a human. He was worse than a beast. He could not even be compared to dog sh*t. The skinny man sensed Lin Tian's gaze. A twisted smile appeared on his face. His eyes seemed to be able to see through people's hearts. He grinned and asked Lin Tian, "Do you think it's not good to kill one's parents?" His voice was ear-piercing. He laughed maniacally. "What's not good about it? It's fine as long as I become stronger. When I become stronger, they will be very happy." This person laughed maniacally. His voice was very ear-piercing. Moreover, it spread far and wide. People who were very far away could hear it. Many cultivators trembled, unable to utter a single word. F*ck. This F***. Behind them, Ling Yun cursed. In the sky, Lin Tian looked at the skinny man. The coldness in his eyes intensified. The skinny man laughed maniacally. The blood-red sword in his hand trembled nonstop. He looked at Lin Tian and licked his lips. His eyes stared straight. "That's right. It's time to kill you." As he spoke, he laughed again like a madman. He held the sword in one hand and cracked the 5 fingers of his other hand. "Slowly, slowly. Let me slowly pull out your heart and organs. I'll kill you bit by bit and give you sufficient pleasure in death." As he finished speaking, He turned to look at the yin-yang saint and the others. After killing him, I'll send all of you on your way. The yin-yang saint and the others' eyes darkened. The 7 boundary emperors' eyes all turned cold. Their killing intent intertwined. The skinny man laughed sinisterly. The blood-red light around his body intensified. His killing intent bloomed. He tilted his head and stared straight at Lin Tian. Clang! He laughed loudly. With a loud clang, the blood-red sword in his hand shattered a large part of the sky. He charged toward Lin Tian like a ferocious ghost. This action shocked the quasi-emperors from the sacred yin-yang sect, the Immortal Sword Island, and the rest of the 4 major powers. Stop him! We want him alive! A boundary emperor from the yin-yang sect said. In an instant, the boundary emperors from the 4 major forces all moved. They all charged toward Lin Tian. If they wanted to obtain the ancient killing formation in Lin Tian's body, they would first have to suppress Lin Tian and use the soul-searching technique to extract the essence of the ancient scripture. Even if the pure yang flame that the heavenly devil puppet wanted could be obtained after killing Lin Tian, they would first have to ensure that Lin Tian's corpse was relatively intact. If the skinny man turned him into a bloody mist, they would not be able to obtain it. In an instant, a total of 8 boundary emperors charged toward Lin Tian together. It's over. He's dead. Far away, many cultivators who had not really fled were still staring in this direction. When they saw this scene, their expressions changed. No matter what, Lin Tian could not block the 8 boundary emperors. It was a situation where he would definitely die. Lin Tian stood in the sky. He could clearly feel the pressure of the 8 boundary emperors, causing his bones to creak and his internal organs to become cold. He felt the absolute threat of death, especially that skinny man whose aura was the most terrifying. Even so, his expression did not change in the slightest. He did not even move a single step as he stood there calmly. Only his gaze shifted slightly as he looked at little Alpha Primordium in the distance. Ah! The skinny man laughed maniacally. His speed was much faster than the 7 boundary emperors of the 4 major forces. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Lin Tian. Oh no! The boundary emperors of the yin-yang sect all changed their expressions. If Lin Tian was killed by the skinny man, their goal would be in vain. They would miss the opportunity to obtain the celestial worthy ancient scripture. At the same time, the heavenly demon puppet, the yin-yang saint, and the others were also shocked. The skinny man's laughter was extremely ear-piercing. The blood sword in his hand released a terrifying killing light as it slashed toward Lin Tian. Die, 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 die! He laughed maniacally. With a clang, the terrifying blood sword shattered the sky. Lin Tian faced the blood sword with a cold expression. Poof! Blood splattered in all directions like a pillar. The skinny man's body suddenly flew out and was torn into pieces. The sacred weapon blood sword in his hand was shattered with a crack. What? Instantly, everyone's expressions changed. The terrifying skinny man was a humanoid weapon cultivated by the great extinguishing god dynasty. He was known to be invincible below the emperor level. When he slashed his sword toward Lin Tian, he was sent flying and torn into pieces. The blood sword that was slashing toward Lin Tian also shattered. This person was a peak boundary emperor. That blood sword was a sacred weapon of a sect. The 7 boundary emperors of the yin-yang sect turned pale again. They stopped in their tracks and looked at Lin Tian in shock and disbelief. Further behind, the heavenly demon puppet, the immortal sword sun, the primordial divine sun, and the yin-yang saint were also shocked. Yeah. Chapter 11:14. The snow-white little fellow was rather eye-catching. Coupled with its babyish voice, it instantly attracted everyone's gazes, especially the female cultivators who were extremely far away. At this time, when they saw the little fellow, many people's eyes lit up. Because of the fear brought by the skinny man, they couldn't help but weaken a lot in an instant. It's the little fellow that was lying on his head. Wasn't it in another position just now? How? How did it suddenly appear on his shoulder? I didn't see it move. The humanoid weapon of the great extinguishing divine dynasty was suddenly sent flying. Could it be that little fellow's doing this? That Lin Tian doesn't have that kind of strength. That little fellow suddenly appeared there. It seems, is it really it? But it's so small. It can injure a quasi-emperor, shatter a divine weapon. Many people were shocked. At the same time, the Yin-Yang Saint and the other quasi-emperors of the four major forces also looked at the little Taichu with shocked expressions. Just now, the skinny man, who was stronger than the seven of them, was suddenly injured and his divine weapon shattered. They felt that Lin Tian himself could not have done that. However, at this time, the little Taichu suddenly appeared on Lin Tian's shoulder. They could not help but ponder. Their expressions were slightly cold, and for a moment, they did not do anything else. Only the whooshing crocodile and Ling Yun looked relaxed and smiled sinisterly. They knew best how powerful the little Taichu was. Lin Tian's expression was indifferent. Of course, the little Taichu was the one who injured the skinny man and shattered his divine weapon. He had looked at little Alpha Origin when the other party was about to reach him. Even though it was only a glance, the little fellow, who had been in his body for several years, was naturally able to understand. In an instant, it had appeared beside him without a sound, and the skinny man was naturally met with a bloody misfortune. Boom! A turbulent aura surged. In the distance, the skinny man reformed his body, and the blood-red glow around his body became even more turbulent. You hurt me! You hurt me! You hurt me! You dare hurt me! You dare hurt me! Staring at Lin Tian, the skinny man's eyes were filled with rage. Then, with a rumbling sound, he pounced towards Lin Tian. He was like a malicious spirit from hell, his face incomparably ferocious. Ka-ka-ka sounds rang out. The space in all directions shook uncontrollably, crumbling inch by inch under his powerful aura. It was extremely horrifying. Kill! With a ferocious roar, the skinny man rushed to Lin Tian's side in the blink of an eye. His emperor's might surged as the 10,000 extinguishing killing technique rumbled. Lin Tian looked at him coldly and didn't move. On his shoulder, little Taichu's big eyes were watery, but it didn't move either. Pooh! Blood splashed out again. The shriveled man was sent flying, directly exploding into pieces. Such a scene caused everyone to be shocked once again. This what's going on? Once again, the humanoid weapon of the all-extinguishing God Dynasty. That Lin Tian didn't do anything. Is it the little guy on his shoulder? That's not right. That little guy didn't do anything. I definitely saw it clearly. They didn't move at all. In the distance, many cultivators were shocked and confused. Only the 7 quasi-emperors of the Yin-Yang sect were shocked at this moment. They trembled slightly. This was because the skinny man was sent flying for the first time, and because little Taichu suddenly appeared on Lin Tian's shoulder. The 7 of them felt that this little guy was extraordinary, so when the skinny man charged towards Lin Tian again, the 7 of them stared straight at him. Then, they also saw that Lin Tian and little Taichu didn't move. However, during this process, they all felt a vast and boundless aura. This aura was intertwined with the little Taichu on Lin Tian's shoulder. At this moment, the 7 of them stared at the little Taichu again. Their eyes were filled with horror, and they couldn't help but take a step back. TSK, as expected of the little guy that Lin Tian incubated for several years. He's indeed different. Just the aura he released naturally can shatter the body and injure the soul of a quasi-emperor. He's so powerful that it's a mess. In the distance, whooshing crocodile chuckled. Next to him, Ling Yun also laughed sinisterly. Ah! The skinny man roared again. In the distance, he reassembled his physical body and stared straight at Lin Tian. His expression became even more ferocious, and the blood-red glow around his body became even more intense. He looked like a peerless ghost that had walked out of hell. You deserve to die. Damn you, damn you, damn you, damn you, damn you, damn you. He roared madly. His eyes were bloodshot, and he looked completely deranged. Then, with a whoosh, he charged towards Lin Tian again like a mad beast. Die, 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 die. For a moment, the blood-red glow intertwined around his body, and a bloody and evil aura surged in all directions. Even the sky was stained with a layer of blood. His voice was terrifying. However, the outcome was no different from the previous 2 times. With a puff, his quasi-emperor physical body exploded into pieces again. Ah! The man roared madly. He reassembled his physical body and charged towards Lin Tian again. Then his body exploded again. Damn it! The man's expression was ruthless. He charged forward again and exploded again. That's a quasi-emperor. How? How could this be? The group of cultivators trembled. They watched as a quasi-emperor continuously attacked Lin Tian and exploded while Lin Tian and the little Taichu on his shoulder didn't move at all. The scene was so terrifying that many people felt a chill run down their spines. Is it really because of that little guy? Someone trembled. After watching for so long, these cultivators weren't stupid. Many of them had already guessed that this had something to do with the little Taichu. The quasi-emperors of the 4 major forces, including the Yin-Yang Saint, were all horrified. Ah! The skinny man roared. His eyes were bloodshot and his face was ferocious as he charged towards Lin Tian in a frenzy. However, the outcome didn't change. Every time he got close to Lin Tian, he would explode. Then, after his body exploded 11 times in a row, he stared at Lin Tian again. Finally, fear appeared in his eyes. His gaze fell on the little Taichu on Lin Tian's shoulder. What is that thing? What is it? After all, he was a quasi-emperor super expert and a humanoid weapon cultivated by the great extinguishing divine dynasty, which was said to be invincible under the Chaos Emperor. Although he was crazy and mentally twisted, after his body was shattered 11 times in a row, this skinny man became much more clear-headed like a normal person. He knew the reason why his body was shattered time and time again. Everything was because of the little Taichu on Lin Tian's shoulder. Moreover, his body was shattered time and time again because of the other's aura. What is it? What is it? He stared at Lin Tian and the little Taichu on Lin Tian's shoulder. The fear in his bloodshot eyes intensified as he staggered backward. Lin Tian looked at this person. Come again. Why did you stop? The skinny man trembled and his body began to tremble. You're not coming again? Lin Tian's expression was cold. Then die. You killed your mother and father. You're worse than pigs and dogs. On his shoulder, the little Taichu naturally understood what he meant. It stretched out a little paw and waved it across the void. Instantly, a 6-colored divine light silently descended and directly enveloped the skinny man. Chi! With a chi sound, the skinny man who was charging over suddenly paused. Then, he directly shattered like porcelain. This time, not a single drop of blood splashed in the air. The skinny man was completely turned into ashes, not even leaving behind a trace. For a moment, this place seemed to have become deathly silent. It's really that little guy. Very far away, someone stared at the little Taichu on Lin Tian's shoulder with trembling eyes. It had only waved its paw, and that's a humanoid weapon cultivated by the great extinguishing divine dynasty. It kills for the sake of killing. It's truly invincible under the emperor level. It isn't the emperor level. Many cultivators were shocked. At the same time, the 7 quasi-emperors from the 4 major forces, as well as the 4 young supremes, including the primordial divine prince, were all shocked. Their eyes flickered, and they were all stunned by the power of the little Taichu. With just a simple wave of its paw, it actually killed a quasi-emperor who was invincible under the emperor level. This was definitely the power of an emperor level. Young master, let's go. Luo Shao, the quasi-emperor of the heavenly demon divine sect, said in a low voice. Demonic light flickered around his body as he wrapped the heavenly demon puppet and fled into the distance. At the same time, the quasi-emperors of the 3 major forces, including the Yin-Yang sect, returned to the side of their respective young supremes. Quasi-emperor level divine power surged and wrapped around their young supremes as they fled into the distance at extreme speed. At this time, they could clearly feel how terrifying the little Taichu beside Lin Tian was. If they stayed, they would definitely die. Don't even think about leaving. Lin Tian's voice rang out. On his shoulder, the little Taichu cried out in a childish voice. The wings on its back flapped, and a circle of six-colored divine light immediately spread out like ripples on water. In the blink of an eye, it enveloped the space within a radius of several thousand feet, like a boundary barrier, sealing the void. All of a sudden, the cultivators from the Yin-Yang sect and the other four forces all stopped in their tracks. They were cut off from the outside world. What are you trying to do? A quasi-emperor of the Yin-Yang sect stared at Lin Tiandao with an ugly expression. You came here to steal my divine fire, ancient scriptures, and killing formation to kill me. What do you think I'm trying to do now? Lin Tiandao, the quasi-emperor of the Yin-Yang sect, who spoke, trembled. He naturally heard the killing intent in Lin Tian's words. Looking at the little Taichu on Lin Tian's shoulder, his expression became even uglier. Then he said in a low voice, "Young man, I advise you not to act recklessly. Killing us here won't do you any good. Even if you have someone comparable to an emperor by your side, you're still far from being able to contend against our sect. Our sect doesn't only have one emperor. We also have a ninth heaven emperor overseeing our sect." Lin Tian looked at this person with an indifferent expression. Is that so? I'm so scared. His voice was very calm, but there was an obvious indifference in it. This made the quasi-emperor of the Yin-Yang sect turn pale. Don't be too erase. Lin Tian's voice rang out again, interrupting the quasi-emperor of the Yin-Yang sect. Yeah, you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.